Chapter 234. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was displaying his true strength for the first time after breaking through to the peak of the 10th level of the Transcendence Realm. The vast pressure emitted from his body seemed to suppress all eternity. It was powerful and peerless. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan waved his hands continuously. Beams of bright and sharp divine light were emitted from his hands, illuminating the entire world. At the same time, the peerless landscape painting in front of Jun Haoyan emitted endless pressure, suppressing everything. And opposite him, the immeasurable continent's genius, Wuxian, had 9 divine rings floating in front of him. In addition to his immortal and undying realm cultivation, his strength could be said to be unparalleled. With such strength, even an ordinary immortal creator realm powerhouse was no match for him. But unfortunately, he met Jun Haoyan this time. The peerless landscape painting in front of Jun Haoyan was evolved by Jun Haoyan using the battle secret word. Its attack power could be said to be heaven-defying. At this moment, compared to Qing Fengzi, Jun Haoyan's cultivation seemed to be somewhat lacking. But with the support of the ancient mammoth seed in his body, his strength had already reached a terrifying level. Beams of peerless divine light were emitted. The peerless landscape painting in front of Jun Haoyan seemed to have turned into a real continent at this moment, revealing a vast and boundless aura. Such a powerful aura directly suppressed Wuqian's 9 divine rings. Under Jun Haoyan's pressure, Wuqian could be said to have no room to resist at all. Rumbling sounds continuously appeared in the void as if it was about to collapse. At this moment, in the eyes of Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia, Jun Haoyan was like a supreme sovereign who ruled the world, sweeping through the world. Buzz buzz buzz. An ear-piercing sound rang out in the air. It was deafening and intimidating. Hearing these sounds, the cultivators who were lost in the power of the heavenly stage actually had a trace of clarity. But in the next moment, the powerful power of the heavenly stage once again invaded their minds. As a peerless genius of the immeasurable continent, Wuqian's strength was indeed very strong. Even though his current sempiternal realm cultivation base wasn't obtained through his own cultivation, it was still extremely difficult for him to attain it. However, his cultivation was still a terrifying existence in the undying realm. How heaven-defying was this kind of strength? Unfortunately, it was like he was being suppressed by a continent before Jun Haoyan's vast strength, and he was unable to break through it all by relying on his 9 divine rings. Right at this moment, Jun Haoyan slowly took a step forward, his entire body glowing with boundless divine light. Rumble. A series of loud noises burst out, shaking the entire world and reverberating in everyone's mind. The exceptional picture scroll spread out once again. The scenery within it was incomparably real. It was as if Jun Haoyan had personally created a real world. Under this power, Wuqian was finally unable to resist, and his entire body was trembling. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Jun Haoyan. His face was extremely pale. Countless cracks slowly appeared on his body. It was as if Jun Haoyan could destroy him directly with just a little bit of strength. I don't believe it. I won't lose just like that. I'm someone favored by God. I'm a unique existence. Break. At this moment, Wuqian had completely fallen into madness. The true essence and divine powers around him were constantly unleashed, surging into the 9 divine rings around him. He wanted to break through Jun Haoyan's suppression in one fell swoop. However, what made him despair was that no matter how much strength he exerted, he still couldn't shake Jun Haoyan's strength. He was like an ant trying to shake a tree. He seemed to be overestimating himself. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes were cold and his face was expressionless. He was like a peerless king as he gently pressed down with his right hand. In the next moment, the entire world seemed to have collapsed. The exceptional picture scroll wrapped in endless divine light destroyed Wuqian's 9 divine rings just like that. Bang, bang, bang. The divine rings continued to shatter, turning into nothingness and dissipating in this world. As Wuqian's divine rings shattered, the aura on his body continued to weaken, and thick blood flowed out of his mouth. At this moment, Wuqian still couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. He had accepted the power of God. He clearly had invincible strength, but why couldn't he defeat the Holy Son of Hao Tian? Moreover, the other party defeated him so easily. Wuqian still couldn't believe or understand all of this. However, he would probably never have the chance to find out the answer to this question. At this moment, the power in Jun Haoyan's hand increased again. It was like the final judgment of a supreme king. Boom. Finally, Wuqian couldn't hold on any longer. His whole body trembled and then his body shattered. He was completely crushed by the mountain and river picture scroll. Everything turned into nothingness. Whether it was his body, his primordial spirit, or his soul, they had all dissipated. The peerless genius of the boundless continent, Wuqian, had completely fallen at this moment. Those warriors who still had some sense left were in a daze when they saw this scene. Is the holy son of Hao Tian so strong? Wuqian is already an undying realm figure, but he couldn't even resist. It's really terrifying. The holy son of Hao Tian is still as strong as ever. Some people who saw this scene couldn't believe it at first, but in the end they accepted it. Wuqian, who had obtained the heavenly fate. Just like that, he was directly destroyed by Jun Haoyan. Not even his bones were left behind. After seeing this scene, Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia directly breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were even more shocked by Jun Haoyan's strength. You two have known each other for a long time. How strong is brother Haoyan? Emperor Xia asked. He originally thought that Jun Haoyan was just about the same as him, but later thought that Jun Haoyan was a little stronger than him. But now, it was no longer a matter of being a little stronger. It was too much, enough to crush him. He wanted to understand Jun Haoyan's strength, so he could only ask Guyue Huang. After all, the two of them had known each other for a long time. I'm not sure. It seems that he has never shown his true strength, nor has he fought to the death. At this point, Guyue Huang seemed to have thought of something and spoke again. The holy son of Hao Tian, no matter what kind of opponent he is facing, he can crush them. As soon as these words came out, Emperor Xia was stunned. Although he had heard many legends about Jun Haoyan, and also knew of Jun Haoyan's heaven-defying battle record, now that he heard Ji Yunwang's words, it seemed more terrifying than what he had heard. To be able to completely crush every single one of his opponents, what kind of strength was this? Even Emperor Xia didn't dare to imagine. Guyue Huang wasn't exaggerating because that was the truth. At this moment, after Jun Haoyan killed Wuqian, the aura of his body began to converge. He only saw that the remaining flesh and blood essence of Wuqian was gradually disappearing, fusing with the heavenly staircase to godhood. Without thinking too much, the most important thing now was to keep moving forward and reach the peak. Now Jun Haoyan had killed 3 heaven's prides. There was only one person who could stand in front of him. That was Qing Fengzi, one of the heaven's prides from other continents. The most powerful one. And now, Qing Fengzi had already reached the 365th step of the heavenly staircase. In the entire heavenly staircase to godhood, there were a total of 990 steps. And now, Jun Haoyan was only standing on the 100th step, but Qing Fengzi had already reached the 365th step. From the side, this Qing Fengzi was really very powerful, at least a level more terrifying than Wu Tian and the others. Although they were all at the peak of the Transcendence 10th level, there were still differences. For example, Jun Haoyan was the most powerful one. Like Wu Tian or Bai Libing, they were all much stronger than the others, and so was Qing Fengzi. But no matter what, from all aspects, Qing Fengzi was stronger than Jun Haoyan's opponents. At this moment, Jun Haoyan raised his head and looked in front, at Qing Fengzi, who had already stopped climbing. The latter obviously knew about the battle just now, but he did not turn back. But now he also felt Jun Haoyan's gaze and slowly turned his head. Your strength has indeed exceeded my expectations. I did not expect you to be so strong. Qing Fengzi opened his mouth. At this moment, his state was different from the others, as if he still maintained his rationality. And now he looked more and more unfathomable, powerful and terrifying, but not much of his true yuan leaked out. Even Jun Haoyan could not see how strong this person's cultivation was. Of course, all of this was because the heavenly staircase to godhood had a huge suppression on Jun Haoyan. Every step was like an ancient divine mountain pressing down on him. Jun Haoyan now had to repel the power of the heavenly staircase, but he also had to bear the pressure, and it was not easy. Especially now, Qing Fengzi seemed to be protected by the heavenly staircase, making him unable to see clearly. But Jun Haoyan was still clear of the other party's words. Without hesitation, he directly spoke to Qing Fengzi. I advise you not to continue climbing, otherwise, it will be too terrifying. This was Jun Haoyan's warning. Although there was nothing strange about Qing Fengzi now, that strange aura made Jun Haoyan feel very uncomfortable. He knew that this was the influence of the heavenly palace and the heavenly staircase. Perhaps if he climbed up, Qing Fengzi would not be Qing Fengzi anymore. But after hearing Jun Haoyan's words, the latter's face revealed a smile. You want me to stop climbing? Ha, what a joke. This is the heavenly staircase to godhood. As long as you climb up, you will be able to obtain the inheritance of God, and become a god. You want me to stop climbing? Isn't it also because you want to snatch my fortune? Qing Fengzi spoke, and rays of light appeared in his eyes, extremely dazzling. This kind of light was the same as the light emitted by the nine-colored altar. This kind of light looked incomparably sacred, able to illuminate all darkness, causing everyone to be bathed in it. But Jun Haoyan felt uncomfortable all over, and this kind of light made him feel very disgusted. Obviously, as he had guessed, although this Qing Fengzi looked normal, in reality he was more affected than anyone else. Shaking his head slightly, Jun Haoyan did not intend to continue persuading, because this was not what he wanted to do. As such, he looked down and said, "Don't worry. I will only say this, leave this heavenly staircase to godhood, otherwise, there will be great danger." His words were said to the cultivators of the martial god continent, as well as the earth cultivators of the other continents. It was not that Jun Haoyan was benevolent and wanted to save these people. But as he continued climbing, he felt more and more terrified of this heavenly staircase. It was like a living thing. It was very likely that these people would have a big problem which would affect him, Mount Tai, and even the entire martial god continent. Therefore, this was not what Jun Haoyan wanted to see, which was why he said this. If you ask us not to climb, why don't you go down yourself? You obviously want to take the fortune for yourself, but you still say it so righteously. Ridiculous. We will not go down. As for you people of the martial god continent, it has nothing to do with us. At this moment, the people from the other continents spoke up, and sinister smiles appeared on their faces. In their opinion, Jun Haoyan wanted to seize the fortune for himself. What was this place? Heavenly staircase to godhood. As long as they were at the top, there would be endless benefits. Why would they withdraw? Especially at this moment, after hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Qing Fengzi felt as if he had heard a joke. Without any hesitation, he turned around and prepared to continue climbing. As for the people from the other continents, after mocking Jun Haoyan, they also walked up. As for the cultivators of the martial god continent, they all lowered their heads and did not look at Jun Haoyan. It was obvious that they also wanted to climb the heavenly staircase. Even if they did not have any opportunities in the end, as long as they kept climbing, they would still be able to obtain great benefits. Jun Haoyan shook his head. This was his final warning. Since they did not want to stop, he would not force them. He had already said what he needed to say. As for the final result, it was all their own fault. Holy son of Haoyan, we will listen to you. At this moment, a few people stood up as if they had made a huge decision. Their eyes were filled with determination. Although we don't know what danger you are talking about, we will withdraw. That's right. Even if nothing happens in the end, we will have no regrets. After saying this, those people turned around and walked down the heavenly staircase. Every step required great determination, especially when they realized that the power of the heavenly staircase would follow them. But no matter what, since they had already decided, they would not choose to withdraw. As for the Supreme Kings and those who chose to continue, they continued to climb and move upwards. Jun Haoyan glanced at them and did not say anything. This was human nature. Some people could be resolute, but some people could not refuse that kind of temptation. Then he took a deep breath and stabilized all the power in his body in the furnace formed by his dantian. The golden primordial spirit sat cross-legged under the wonderful Bodhi tree and chanted the past Amitabha Sutra. This was a supreme soul-refining technique that could stabilize the mind and maintain the physical body. There would definitely be greater challenges above the heavenly staircase. He had to be prepared. Jun Haoyan had a premonition that after reaching the peak this time, he would come into contact with a terrifying secret. And he, too, wanted to know everything. Chapter 235. At this moment, an extremely vast power erupted from Jun Haoyan's body. Around him, wisps of golden blood qi continuously surged out. At this moment, endless majesty emerged from his body. Jun Haoyan's incomparably strong physical body seemed to be eternal and indestructible as it stood in this world. At this moment, no one could ignore Jun Haoyan's existence. In the next moment, under everyone's gaze, Jun Haoyan took a step and slowly walked up the heaven staircase. Jun Haoyan seemed to have stepped onto the heaven staircase to become a god. His expression was indifferent, and his gaze was firm, showing the demeanor of a peerless genius. After stepping onto the heaven staircase, Jun Haoyan did not absorb a trace of the heaven staircase's power. The most terrifying thing about the heaven staircase was that as long as a martial artist fused with a trace of its power, they would be controlled by this power and lose their own thoughts. From then on, they would become a slave to this power, unable to control themselves. If one did not take the initiative to reject the heaven staircase's power at the beginning, then this power would continue to affect them. Just like Bai Li Bing and Wu Qian, who had died in Jun Haoyan's hands. Although the two of them looked powerful, they could not withstand a single blow from Jun Haoyan. After absorbing the heaven staircase's power, their minds were already unclear. After being killed by Jun Haoyan, all their essence was absorbed by the heaven staircase. Even if they did not die in Jun Haoyan's hands, they would be controlled by this power for the rest of their lives. Jun Haoyan had this premonition when he had just stepped onto the heaven staircase. When the power hit him, a voice sounded in his mind. As long as he fused with this power, he could immediately break through to the immortal 10,000 life realm. This power would allow him to break through to the immortal 10,000 life realm without any danger. Feeling the heaven staircase's power that was still surrounding him, Jun Haoyan's face revealed a relaxed smile. He did not intend to fuse with the heaven staircase's power from the beginning. He was very clear in his heart that this power did not belong to him at all. If the heaven rank was compared to a life form with immense power, then the person who ascended the heaven rank would be affected by that power. Previously he just wanted to know what heaven rank looked like, but now it was completely different. At this time, Jun Haoyan was truly choosing to ascend the heaven staircase. His entire body had an indescribable charm. And every time Jun Haoyan climbed a flight of stairs, the power around his body would rumble and the heaven rank would display formidable power. These forces were constantly invading his body, trying to fuse with him. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had a feeling and an idea, but he wasn't sure. After he killed by Li Bing and Wu Tian, Jun Haoyan guessed that his thoughts shouldn't be wrong based on the heaven rank's reaction. That 999 heaven rank powerhouse was most likely a huge life form. Or perhaps this was a puppet being controlled by someone. Of course, if he wanted to truly understand everything, he had to reach the peak of the heaven rank, the peak of Mount Tai, and see what this 9-colored altar was. With that in mind, Jun Haoyan's speed became faster and faster. The increasingly powerful pressure of the heaven rank as well as the temptation of power was nothing to Jun Haoyan. At this moment, it seemed that nothing could shake Jun Haoyan's mind. It was also because of this that Jun Haoyan felt more and more pressure, and the power of the heaven rank kept surging, almost surpassing Qing Fengzi's. This scene had already been noticed by Qing Fengzi. His eyes were filled with jealousy, and it quickly turned into resentment. Because he was the first person to ascend this place, and also the first person to feel the power of the heaven rank. In Qing Fengzi's words, he was someone favored by God. But now, the power Jun Haoyan received was even greater than his. Didn't that mean that he had been abandoned by God? No, this is absolutely impossible. Qing Fengzi's face was filled with hatred. He looked at the approaching Jun Haoyan and made up his mind to kill him. He wanted to ruthlessly suppress Jun Haoyan in his strongest state under the gaze of God. Just like this, he sat on the 365th level and enjoyed the gift of the heaven rank. As time passed, the power he obtained became stronger and stronger, terrifying beyond compare. At this moment, Jun Haoyan ascended to the 220th level of the heaven rank. His body seemed to be suppressed by more than 200 terrifying ancient god mountains. If not for the ancient Yuan giant elephant carrying the world and stepping on the river of stars, it would have been difficult for him to move forward. It was also under this kind of situation that Qing Fengzi absorbed the terrifying power around him without any scruples, fusing it into his body. At the same time, his aura became more and more powerful, and the immortal aura around him continuously shot out. It was even more powerful than by Li Bing and Wu Tian, and it looked even more terrifying. In order to kill Jun Haoyan, he had to frantically increase his strength. It wasn't that he didn't have much confidence in himself, but Qing Fengzi understood that if he wanted to truly obtain the recognition of the heaven rank, such terrifying power, if it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Moreover, Jun Haoyan hadn't fused with the power of the heaven rank, so it would only be worse and he would be rejected by the heaven rank. He was also standing on the 200th step, but the pressure he had to endure was several times that of the others. Even so, Jun Haoyan was still fearless and walked forward step by step. Even with the suppression of thousands of divine mountains, even with the temptation of various powers, he walked forward alone, shouldering everything. Boom! With another step, Jun Haoyan once again crossed more than 10 steps and walked forward. Just like this, every step he took was like a crowd entering a mountain, causing the entire heaven rank to tremble slightly. Jun Haoyan was already standing at the peak of the primordial spirit Dharma phase, and he was only one step away from the immortal realm. It looked like a small step, but the gap was very large. Crossing it would be a different scene. Unlike the others who had received the gift of the heaven rank, Jun Haoyan didn't receive any external power at all. Therefore he had to cross the step himself. Jun Haoyan did the same. While resisting the pressure, Jun Haoyan was also condensing his physical body and primordial spirit. Although it seemed very difficult to walk up this heaven rank to become a god, from another perspective, it was also a test for him. Perhaps this time it was his fortune. Just like this, Jun Haoyan walked forward step by step, crossing more than 10 steps with each step. However, not long after, he felt a terrifying aura in front of him. It was a powerful force that had already surpassed the immortal realm, reaching the same cultivation level as the Eastern Wilderness great sacred leaders. Immortal Realm Creator Realm. Although Jun Haoyan had killed the terrifying existence of the immortal realm before, he had relied on the supreme weapon and the Sarira of the small thunderclap temple. Now he was using his own strength, and his cultivation level was at the peak of the primordial spirit Dharma phase. When he felt this terrifying aura, even Jun Haoyan felt some pressure. At this moment, the person standing in front of Jun Haoyan was actually Qing Fengzi, who relied on the power of the heaven rank. This person had already broken through to the immortal creator realm. In such a short time, this speed was extremely terrifying, not to mention in the Wuxian continent, even in the 3,000 continents. Most importantly, he was in existence with an extremely strong foundation and talent like Qing Fengzi. Originally, it was very difficult for such a person to advance. Now, in less than 2 days, not only did he break through to the immortal realm, but he also reached the immortal creator realm. When the people below who were still climbing the heaven rank saw this scene, their faces were filled with excitement. They thought that if they continued climbing, they would definitely be able to reach this level. Perhaps they would become even stronger. In the future, when they walked out of Mount Tai, the ordinary people among them would become the strongest in the entire world. Becoming a truly terrifying figure was something they had always dreamt of. Under the temptation of cultivation, they worked even harder to climb, and their speed was faster than before. However, when Jun Haoyan saw this scene, he watched coldly from the side. His expression did not change, and he did not even have the slightest bit of surprise. "Holy son of Haoyan, I didn't expect you to actually walk in front of me. This is good too, I don't have to waste too much effort to kill you. You are courting death by snatching the fortune of the heaven rank with me. No one can stop me from reaching the peak." Qing Fengzi's figure stood on the 365th step, looking down at Jun Haoyan. He already had the cultivation of the immortal creator realm, and soon he would be able to break through to the immortal world king realm, and then he would be able to advance to the immortal realm. After that, he would be able to reach the emperor realm in one fell swoop. This was what he hoped for, and there was no problem at all. But now, the first thing he had to do was to kill Jun Haoyan, kill this person who would threaten him. "You have been controlled by power, but it doesn't matter, I will end you." Jun Haoyan looked at the person in front of him, whose body was surging with immortal light, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. He was not afraid at all because the other party had reached the immortal creator realm, and he directly took a step forward. "This holy son of Haoyan is crazy, he wants to fight with Qing Fengzi who has reached the immortal creator realm? He is overestimating himself, I dare say that he is no match for him at all, and will die miserably. Qing Fengzi's talent is strong, his divine abilities are invincible, and he has the support of the immortal creator realm cultivation. How can he win? Not necessarily, this holy son of Haoyan is very strong, maybe even if he loses he won't die." Someone spoke at this time, especially those who came from other continents, concluded that Jun Haoyan was overestimating himself. Some also thought that Jun Haoyan would have his own trump card, but without exception no one admitted that he would win. These people had been deeply affected by the heaven rank, although they had recovered some of their consciousness, they were not like before. Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia, who had been standing below, looked nervous, but they were not too worried. Because the two of them believed that Jun Haoyan would not do something that he was not confident of. Since Jun Haoyan planned to directly attack, he must have his own confidence. And under such circumstances they could only wait and see. Boom. At this time, Qing Fengzi attacked first. He covered the sky with one hand and was extremely powerful. A blue sky appeared behind him, enveloping everything around him. He was like the representative of the blue sky, exuding a brilliant and terrifying aura. In the next moment, a huge sun appeared in this blue sky. It was incomparably cold, shining on the heaven palace. A blue sky and a great sun. Two strange phenomena appeared. Qing Fengzi was like his name. Just as he attacked, he displayed an unparalleled power. That blue sky directly descended on Jun Haoyan. It had the aura of heaven and earth suppressing it. At this time, Jun Haoyan stood indomitable, golden qi and blood circling around his body. Violent rumbling sounds were heard. He faced the blue sky directly and formed a fist seal. It was terrifying and invincible, it could kill everything. He did not use the attack of the battle's secret art, but used his own strength to break this void. Boom boom boom. Jun Haoyin continued to unleash attacks. Each of his punches was capable of shattering a mountain range and turning a mulberry field into a vast ocean, bombarding this world. It's useless under this blue sky, I am the ruler. Qing Fengzi looked at Jun Haoyin who was attacking him and sneered. He enjoyed this feeling as if he could control the life and death of a person at will. Is that so? Jun Haoyin smiled, he was not affected at all, and the power in his hands increased. Layers of protection surrounded his body. The golden figure under the seven treasures Bodhi tree also appeared, temporarily merging with his body. Merging the primordial spirit and the body, this was something that only longevity realm experts could do. And now Jun Haoyin had done it, which surprised everyone. This also meant that Jun Haoyin had the foundation to break through to the immortal realm. Boom. At this moment, Jun Haoyin seemed to have turned into a god of war. All kinds of skills exploded in his hands. He was no longer limited to one skill, one emperor art, and could merge all of them into one. Under such terrifying means he looked incomparably powerful. Each of Jun Haoyin's moves contained a terrifying might, as if they were about to break through the heavens and earth. Finally, Qing Fengzi's expression changed. The power in Jun Haoyin's hands became stronger and stronger. It made the blue sky that he had built start to collapse. Even the sun in the sky was shaking, as if it was going to be extinguished at any time. Impossible. Qing Fengzi shouted loudly. He channeled his immortal creator realm cultivation base and entered the blue sky. However, to his astonishment he discovered that his methods were actually useless. Jun Haoyin became stronger as he fought, and his methods were endless. The Cauldron of 100 Scriptures finally played a great role, allowing him to use all kinds of skills smoothly. It was also under these circumstances that cracks appeared in the blue sky above his head, and it was on the verge of collapse. Break for me. Jun Haoyin frowned coldly. At the limit he once again took a peerless blow. Boom. Boom. The void exploded, the sun fell and the blue sky cracked. Qing Fengzi's body trembled, his face was pale and he couldn't stop it. He seemed to be about to fail. Chapter 236. Impossible, I'm the one chosen by God. You can't defeat me. At this moment, Qing Fengzi roared at Jun Haoyin. Then a vast aura appeared on his body, and rays of divine light shot out. A powerful aura spread between heaven and earth. He wanted to maintain the blue sky in his hand and suppress Jun Haoyin. But now it seemed that everything was too late. Jun Haoyin did not show mercy at all. Once again he attacked with his strongest attack. It shook the entire world as if it was going to be destroyed. The majestic divine aura shook the world as if it was going to destroy the world. Then endless divine light descended from the sky. At this moment the blue sky shattered and the sun set. As for Qing Fengzi he fell on the stairs. His entire body was dispirited and his aura was empty. He looked extremely weak. Impossible, impossible. At this moment Qing Fengzi muttered to himself. He was still in disbelief. He had entered the immortal creator realm. Even in the 3,000 worlds he was considered a peerless expert. But why was he not a match for Jun Haoyin, who was only in the transcendence realm? Qing Fengzi could not accept such an outcome. Even if the holy son of Hao Tian had unparalleled talent and countless divine abilities, his cultivation was far from his. How could the holy son of Hao Tian do this? Thinking of this, Qing Fengzi raised his head with difficulty and looked at Wu Tian. What? Holy son of Hao Tian, tell me why. Qing Fengzi's eyes were filled with disbelief. At this moment he could not swallow the last breath in his heart. Because he was indignant. He did not believe that he did not want to die like this unless he got the answer he wanted. In other words, this was the obsession in his heart. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was standing in front of him, looking down at him with the same condescending gaze. The positions of both sides had been completely reversed. Jun Haoyin looked at Qing Fengzi in front of him. His expression didn't change at all, and his aura was completely restrained. I've already said that this power doesn't belong to you. Unfortunately, you didn't believe me. That's right. If you're really an undying creator, I definitely won't be your opponent. Unfortunately, you're not. I believe that you should be able to feel how strong you are now. As soon as he said this, Qing Fengzi's expression changed. He hurriedly circulated the last of his strength to check his body. It was just as the holy son of Haoyin had said. Qing Fengzi had an undying creator fleshly body, but he was far from reaching this level. It was like a person who had obtained a power beyond their control. Even if they could control it, did that mean that the power belonged to them? That's not true. Power is bestowed upon you by others and can be taken back at any time. At this moment, Qing Fengzi felt that he was still at the Soul Dharma realm. From the very beginning he had not improved at all. This heaven staircase of immortality had been confusing him all along. After knowing the truth, Qing Fengzi could not accept it at all. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood in disbelief. At this moment he finally regained his senses. Unfortunately, this was exchanged with his life. There was no chance for him to regret it at all. Just like that, the pride of a generation, Qing Fengzi, died. Countless people saw this scene and found it hard to believe. They did not hear the conversation between Jun Haoyin and Qing Fengzi just now. In fact, even if they had heard it, it would not have mattered. Because at this moment, they were completely controlled by the power of the heaven staircase. Unless they died, they would not be able to break free from the control of this power. Therefore, Jun Haoyin did not say anything because there was no meaning in it. At this moment, Jun Haoyin advanced once again after killing Qing Fengzi. His primordial spirit separated from his fleshly body once again. After all, he had not broken through to the undying realm. His primordial spirit and fleshly body were still separated. However, this did not affect anything because Jun Haoyin had already taken that step under the pressure of the heaven staircase. Next, if he wanted to break through, it was just a matter of a thought from him. However, Jun Haoyin did not have this intention in the heaven staircase because he still felt an extremely dangerous aura. It was revealed from the 9-colored altar. After he killed Qing Fengzi, he felt it. Without stopping his movements, Jun Haoyin continued to move forward. He crossed the distance of more than 10 heaven staircases with a single step. In just an instant, Jun Haoyin had reached the 500th heaven staircase. However, as Jun Haoyin continued to climb, the power became stronger and stronger. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had to circulate his strongest power to offset it. Otherwise, even he could feel the incomparably heavy and terrifying pressure. Especially when he reached the 500th heaven staircase, the power that emerged and wanted to fuse with him became even more majestic. The current Jun Haoyin even had a feeling that as long as he combined these powers, he would be able to directly cross the 5 immortal realms. He would directly become an emperor realm powerhouse and dominate the world. This kind of enlightenment was extremely tempting for anyone. However, Jun Haoyin's Yuan spirit was still sitting cross-legged under the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. Although it was affected, it still didn't move and sat there quietly. As for Jun Haoyin, he also walked forward step by step. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 100th heaven staircase. At this moment, endless power surged around him. More than 800 ancient divine mountains suppressed his body, as if they wanted to tear his body apart. This power had already exceeded Jun Haoyin's imagination. Jun Haoyin could even feel the monarch's unceasingly beating heart. Layer upon layer, it was as if it could destroy everything. You're not bad to be able to reach this step. At this moment, the monarch opened his mouth and his voice was full of praise. His voice was like an unparalleled existence that could make the world submit to him. It made people want to kneel down and worship him. These words directly landed in Jun Haoyin's mind, as if they were the voice of an ancient monarch. At this moment, even Jun Haoyin had the urge to kneel down and kowtow to him. However, he didn't do so. Instead, he looked at the monarch in the emperor's robe in front of him calmly. Even though the power Jun Haoyin was enduring at this moment was like the suppression of heaven and earth, he showed signs of completely submitting. Jun Haoyin's body was tall and straight. No matter what kind of existence it was, it couldn't make him kneel down. I like such perseverance. The monarch on the emperor's throne seemed to have felt Jun Haoyin's perseverance, and a trace of admiration appeared on his face again. However, the admiration on his face soon disappeared. It directly transformed into an unparalleled majesty, a majesty that was even more terrifying than the wrath of a god. This was a true supreme being that could suppress everything and sweep through 3,000 realms. The monarch on the emperor's throne stood up just like that. He was incomparably tall, as if he had pierced through the sky. However, I am the ancestor of the human race. You should kneel to me. He spoke again, claiming that he was the ancestor of the human race and wanted Jun Haoyin to kneel to him. That tone sounded extremely majestic, as if it could be transmitted to all 3,000 continents in the world. The person in front of him was actually the ancestor of the human race. Jun Haoyin was enduring more and more pressure at this moment. He looked at the monarch in the emperor's robe in front of him, his expression still unchanged. No one knew that Jun Haoyin was enduring a terrifying pressure at this moment. Even his body was constantly trembling. One had to know that he cultivated the indestructible celestial body. In terms of physical strength, not only did he surpass his peers, but even immortal powerhouses might not be as strong as him. However, that monarch just relied on his power to make him tremble. However, even in the face of such pressure, Jun Haoyin's body was still ramrod straight. He slowly opened his mouth. Ancestor? There are many ancestors of the human race. May I know which one you are? This sentence seemed to have exhausted all of Jun Haoyin's strength to say. His forehead was covered in sweat, showing the pressure he was enduring. Even speaking was so difficult, let alone standing in front of the monarch in front of him. When the monarch heard Jun Haoyin's words, a smile appeared on his face again. I am Shen Yuan, the ancestor of the human race. Jun Haoyin's face was filled with astonishment when he heard this. Shen Yuan? After Shen Yuan Supreme's ruins, Jun Haoyin had investigated Shen Yuan Supreme's information. He did not expect Shen Yuan Supreme to be the ancestor of the ancient human race, the descendant of Great Emperor Shen Yuan. And Great Emperor Shen Yuan, the famous ancestor of the human race, actually appeared in this place? He appeared in Mount Tai. In the legends of the martial god continent, Shen Yuan was not only the ancestor of the martial god continent, but also the ancestor of the entire 3,000 continents. In the legends, he was also one of the first people to enter the god realm. Most importantly, it was said that Shen Yuan, the ancestor of the human race, led the god realm in the war between the god realm and the demon race. Most importantly, the ancestor of the human race, Shen Yuan, was said to be a supreme expert even in the god realm. He was truly the strongest existence. Unfortunately, this ancestor of the human race, who was extremely revered in the hearts of the human race, mysteriously disappeared after the war between the god realm and hell. He was also the only god in the records of the human race that had fallen. Looking at the figure of the peerless monarch in front of him, Jun Haoyin was very confused. Why would this ancestor of the human race, who had disappeared for countless years, suddenly appear in Mount Tai? The ancestor Shen Yuan before him was so real. Could it really be the ancestor of the human race, Shen Yuan? At this moment, sensing the aura of the monarch in front of him, even Jun Haoyin was a little puzzled. Ordinary people could not emit such a terrifying aura. The figure of the monarch in front of him seemed to be the ancestor of the human race, Shen Yuan. Most importantly, the monarch in front of him looked exactly the same as the ancestor of the human race, Shen Yuan, who was worshipped by the mortals in the mortal world. How dare you? It's your great honor to see the ancestor of the human race. Hurry up and kneel. At this moment, the monarch in the imperial robe spoke again. There was anger in his eyes. The ancestor of the human race was angry. Who could bear it completely? Even if a true god descended, he would have to kneel in front of the ancestor of the human race, Shen Yuan. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's mind was constantly buzzing after hearing the monarch's words. It was as if thousands of thunderbolts were exploding in his mind, trying to erase his mind. Cold sweat flowed down his body. His body was trembling, and all the magic power in his body was about to dissipate. The person in front of him was indeed unimaginably powerful. Feeling this, Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit felt like it was about to collapse. However, at this moment, the Amitabha Sutra of the past rumbled and stabilized everything. At this moment, light appeared in his eyes. He faced the monarch in front of him and spoke again. You are not the ancestor of the human race. Chapter 237. You're not the human ancestor at all. At that moment, Jun Haoyin slowly raised his head. His eyes were filled with determination as he looked at the figure of the peerless emperor in front of him. His aura also surged. Facing the man in the imperial robe in front of him, Jun Haoyin did not show a trace of fear, nor did he have any intention of kneeling before him. He stared straight at the man in front of him as he slowly uttered such shocking words. Jun Haoyin directly denied that this man was the human ancestor, Shen Yuan. Insolent Junior, I am the ancestor of the human race. The entire human race is my descendant. You dare to defy me, which means you are disrespecting your ancestors. This is treason and has been abandoned by the great Tao. Seeing that Jun Haoyin was so disrespectful to him, the man in the imperial robe spoke directly. He directly berated Jun Haoyin. At the same time, an extremely vast aura swept across heaven and earth, as if it was going to shatter the stars in the void. If it were anyone else present, they would not be able to withstand such a terrifying aura. However, in the face of such a monstrous aura and endless oppression, Jun Haoyin's expression did not change at all. His body was still straight. What's going on? Why is Brother Haoyin standing there and not moving? Could it be that something is obstructing him? At this moment, below the heaven staircase, Emperor Xia and Guyue Huang looked at each other in confusion when they saw this scene. In their eyes, ever since Jun Haoyin stepped onto the 990th step, he had been standing in the same place. There was no sign of him moving forward. At that moment they could not see what Jun Haoyin was facing. In their eyes there was no such thing as a shadow. They could not understand why Jun Haoyin would suddenly stop moving forward. Seeing this, the warriors below who were struggling to climb the heaven staircase were suddenly shocked. As if they had seen some kind of hope, they all increased their efforts to climb. At that moment, standing at the highest point of the heaven staircase was Jun Haoyin. He was on the 990th step of the heaven staircase. However, seeing that Jun Haoyin had been standing there motionless for a long time, they were certain that if Jun Haoyin continued to stand there, they would be able to catch up to him sooner or later and reach the peak. At this moment, nobody knew what Jun Haoyin was going through, nor did they know what was happening on the 990th step. However, the vast majestic aura that permeated the void continued to sweep towards them, causing some of them to tremble in fear. At this moment, Jun Haoyin, who was standing at the 990 level of the heaven staircase, stared at the man in imperial robes in front of him and chuckled softly. The real human ancestor would never have such a domineering attitude towards the human race. According to legend, the human ancestor, Xian Yuan, was open-minded and tolerant of all things. He was especially tolerant of the human race. Forcing humans to kneel and submit is definitely not something the human ancestor Xian Yuan society would do. Jun Haoyin was very calm as he said this directly. According to legend, the human ancestor Xian Yuan society had done his best for the human race. He had killed his way out of the 5 races for the sake of the human race. He was a true unparalleled hero. How could he be like the person in front of him? Therefore, Jun Haoyin was certain that the person in front of him was not the human ancestor Xian Yuan society. Sure enough, the monarch in imperial robes had a change in expression when he heard Jun Haoyin's words. He had never expected that this person, who had appeared after the unknown young man, would be so intelligent. Before he could speak, Jun Haoyin's gaze was as sharp as a knife and his expression was resolute. If I'm not wrong, you're just the human ancestor Xian Yuan society. You're a loser who is pretending to be mysterious here. Jun Haoyin's aura was getting stronger and stronger. The man in imperial robes in front of him could not suppress him for a while. This was because Jun Haoyin had already seen through all illusions. He knew that he was still on the 990th step and had yet to reach the peak. Under these circumstances, everything that he had encountered was due to the influence of the heaven rank. Therefore, there was no longer any fear in his heart. On the contrary, he understood many things. At this moment, the blood in Jun Haoyin's body erupted again. He faced the man in imperial robes in front of him and took another step forward. Boom. In an instant the heaven and earth shook. The entire heaven rank emitted an earth-shattering aura. Boom boom boom. Several consecutive sounds came out and crushed everything. The emperor's throne in front of Jun Haoyin and the monarch in imperial robes had all disappeared. Only a black shadow was left. It was like a shadow that did not exist in this world. It emitted a terrifying aura of earth enlightenment and evil energy. It was completely different from the divine light that was just displayed. However, Jun Haoyin was the only one who could see this black shadow. If it wasn't for the battle with Xian Yuan, how could I have ended up like this? Countless years have passed. Hell will definitely appear. Hell will definitely replace the God realm and control the life and death of all living things. That black shadow shouted, as if it had revealed a terrifying secret. Jun Haoyin narrowed his eyes slightly. The black shadow in front of him seemed to be unable to do anything to him. However, in reality, it was a figure from the same era as Xian Yuan of the human race. Moreover, it was a super expert from hell. However, Jun Haoyin did not know who it was at all. God knows how long had passed in the era of Xian Yuan of the human race. It was rumored that the 3,000 worlds were still a whole at that time. In the era of Xian Yuan of the human race, there was only a vast and boundless world. It was only divided into 3,000 regions. When the 3,000 worlds were connected, it was not as fragmented as it was now. However, no one knew what happened. Perhaps it was because of the Great War or because of the Great Calamity. The 3,000 regions collapsed and turned into the 3,000 worlds of the present. Whether it was Xian Yuan or the black shadow in front of him, they were both peak figures of that era. At this moment, Jun Haoyin finally understood something. The Mount Tai in front of him did not belong to the martial god continent. Instead, it belonged to all the 3,000 worlds of the past. However, due to unpredictable reasons, it had become like this. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin prepared to ask the black shadow something. However, when he looked over again, the black shadow had already disappeared. In front of Jun Haoyin, there were only the 9 heaven steps and the highest peak left. At this moment, the 9-colored altar was also emitting an increasingly powerful aura. The divine light that filled the air was also becoming denser. And all of this originated from the vast heavenly palace and the altar. These two mysterious items both contained great secrets, waiting for Jun Haoyan to explore them. Jun Haoyan took a deep breath. The aura in his body once again returned to its peak, completely breaking free from the influence of the heaven steps. Then, without any hesitation, Jun Haoyan continued forward and stepped onto the next step of the heaven steps. Boom! At this moment, the power he was enduring increased once again. Every inch of his body seemed to be suppressed by a world. However, even so, it still could not stop Jun Haoyan's footsteps. This was the last 10 steps. Every step he took was like facing a world. Boundless might circulated around Jun Haoyan's body as boundless divine light revolved around him. As he continued to move forward, the influence of the heaven steps on him seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. However, Jun Haoyan did not let his guard down. Now it seemed that the black shadow had disappeared. It seemed that there was no power that could affect him anymore. Moreover, the power of the heaven steps that wanted to fuse with him was getting fewer and fewer. Everything was developing in a good direction. However, the closer he was to the peak, the more careful he had to be. Jun Haoyan knew in his heart that there would definitely be more dangers on the heaven steps. Finally, under the watchful eyes of countless people, Jun Haoyan stood on the 998th level of the heaven steps. And in front of him was the last level of the heaven steps. As long as he stood at that position, it meant that he had already walked through the heaven steps. If he went up, he would step into the area of the heavenly palace. Moreover, the 9-colored altar was in the square of the heavenly palace, emitting rays of divine light. Is the Holy Son of Haoyan really going to reach the peak? I don't know. However, looking at the situation, the final winner of the heaven steps of immortality is very likely to be the person in front of us. If he obtains the immortal fate, then in this world, who can suppress him? The eyes of those who were still climbing the heaven steps were filled with despair. They could only watch as Jun Haoyan reached the peak just like that. And no matter how hard they tried, they could not get close. Emperor Xia and Guyue Huang's hearts began to pound at this moment. Their faces were filled with worry and anticipation. On the one hand, they wanted to know what kind of fortune Jun Haoyan would obtain at the peak. On the other hand, they were worried that a great crisis would appear. Previously, Jun Haoyan had already warned them that there was too much problem with the heaven steps. As things developed, they also confirmed Jun Haoyan's words. In this regard, no one would relax at this moment. After all, he was the first person to reach the peak. It was also at this moment that Jun Haoyan finally walked up. The brilliance around his body continued to burst forth with layers of vast power. It was incomparably pure, melodious, and carried a sacred aura that permeated around his body. At this moment, the power emitted by the heaven steps was completely different from before. There was no longer that seductive aura, and it was incomparably solid. In Jun Haoyan's eyes, there was nothing strange about it. He could directly refine it. It fused into his body. This power was Beichang Pang Tai. As long as Jun Haoyan directly refined it, he would be able to break through the immortal realm. He could break through to the immortal longevity realm in an instant, but Jun Haoyan didn't do so. Even if he knew that there was nothing wrong with this power, he would not let himself become a slave to it. However, in this place Jun Haoyan knew that he absolutely could not relax. The more critical the moment, the more important it was. At this moment he had completely reached the peak. When he turned his head to look down again, everyone had been left far behind. No matter how hard they climbed, they were still far away from him. It was like the path of cultivation. When an expert's cultivation reached a certain realm, when he looked back again, he would be surprised to find that his competitors had completely collapsed. In the end, the path of cultivation would reach the top and look down on all mountains. At this moment, Jun Haoyan also had this feeling. In this state, the barrier between him and the immortal realm had completely disappeared. Wisps of immortal realm aura appeared on his body, constantly nourishing his physical body. The primordial spirit that was sitting cross-legged under the 7 treasures virtuous tree also began to come into contact with his physical body. There was no sign of rejection at all. As long as Jun Haoyan was willing, he could combine his physical body and primordial spirit at any time and break through to the immortal realm in one fell swoop. Of course, this also required a process. Although there was no danger during this period, it could not be done casually. It required a lot of preparation. Therefore, Jun Haoyan did not do so at this time. Instead, he continued to look at the peak. That was where the heavenly official was. After passing through the square, he seemed to be able to enter the heavenly palace. However, Jun Haoyan made up his mind to find out what the nine-colored altar in the square was. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan took a deep breath again and restrained the aura around him to protect himself. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's defense was so strong that even an expert at the peak of the immortal realm could not break it. It was also at this moment that, under the gaze of countless people, Jun Haoyan finally reached the peak of the immortal ascension stairway. At the same time, he stepped into the heavenly palace that was like the immortal realm. In an instant, endless divine light spread out continuously, as if it had soaked the entire world. Jun Haoyan bathed in this light, and every inch of his skin seemed to have undergone a metamorphosis, radiating boundless light. The immortal chi here was incomparably rich and endless, as if the door to the immortal realm had really been opened. At this moment, Jun Haoyan stood in the middle of the square. Not far from him was a nine-colored altar with a diameter of 9 meters, quietly standing in the middle of the square, unchanging since time immemorial. Behind the nine-colored altar was an extremely vast palace that seemed to connect the distance between heaven and earth. It was vast and boundless, and every stone seemed to be immeasurable. Every stone seemed to have been refined from a single star. Just like that, it sat in the void, making it impossible to look directly at. The size of the palace was simply unimaginable. Only when one reached the peak could they see it clearly. The scene below was not even a 10,000th of the heavenly palace itself. The palace inside. It seemed so flat that even the stars could be stored inside. However, Jun Haoyan was not paying attention to this. Instead, he was paying attention to the seemingly endless ancient door in the heavenly palace. It was stained with the aura of endless time, vicissitudes and ancient, but it was still fresh after all this time. It was as if no matter how much time had passed, it was impossible to leave a single trace on this door. On this door, there was a simple and unadorned word that shone with endless light. It seemed to be a divine text carved by a god. Although Jun Haoyan had never seen it before, he could still tell what these words were. Southern Heavenly Gate. It was the legendary Southern Heavenly Gate. Could this really be the legendary Heavenly Palace? Jun Haoyan muttered to himself, looking shocked. Above Mount Tai was the Heavenly Palace. Chapter 238. No matter what, the scene in front of him was unbelievable. How could the legendary Heavenly Palace appear on Mount Tai? Since he didn't understand the reason, Jun Haoyan didn't think too much about it and continued to move towards the nine-colored altar. When he reached the square in front of the Heavenly Palace, Jun Haoyan suddenly realized that the pressure he felt on the heavenly stairs had disappeared. Even so, Jun Haoyan, who had always been careful, was still very cautious until he slowly approached the nine-colored altar. Jun Haoyan stared at the nine-colored altar in front of him, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. The nine-colored altar in front of him emitted an endless blazing light that circulated between heaven and earth, mysterious and powerful. However, when Jun Haoyan carefully observed the nine-colored altar, he could not help but reveal a trace of doubt in his eyes. Looking at the nine-colored altar in front of him, Jun Haoyan muttered to himself with a surprised expression. This altar is actually just a projection. It's not where the real altar is. The nine-colored altar that appeared in front of everyone's eyes earlier was actually just a projection. Although the projection was very real, the altar itself wasn't in this place at all. The only explanation was that the nine-colored altar might be in this heavenly palace. Rumble. It was also at this moment that heaven and earth rumbled again, and rays of divine light shot out from the void and filled the world. At the same time, the heavenly palace shook, and waves of extremely terrifying aura gushed out, as if it was going to destroy the world. At this moment, in the heavenly palace, an ancient rune filled with abstruse and mysterious aura drilled into Jun Haoyan's dantian without him noticing and disappeared instantly. Boom. Then there was another rumble. Jun Haoyan suddenly discovered that the Wuxia Heavenly Palace, which was originally located on the 999 level of the heavenly stairs, had descended. At this moment, it actually descended from above and slowly sat on the peak of Mount Tai. Then, the heavenly stairs that everyone was climbing to become a god also disappeared. What's going on? Seeing this, the expressions of Emperor Xia Guiyuehuang and the others changed drastically. How did the heavenly palace, which was originally located in the void and unapproachable, suddenly descend? Everyone look, the heavenly palace is descending. This means that we can enter directly. Haha, this opportunity is not destined to belong to the holy son of Haoyan alone. Everyone has a share. Let's go. Charge into the heavenly palace together. When all the martial artists present discovered that the heaven palace had actually descended, They were immediately shocked and excited. In the next moment, everyone rushed madly toward the heavenly palace. Jun Haoyin simply chose to watch from the sidelines. His expression did not change in the slightest. At this moment, the nine-colored altar in front of him had already disappeared. The supreme divine light above the sky palace became even more dazzling. Countless people looked at the heavenly palace in front of them with excited expressions and rushed inside. However, to everyone's surprise, the South Heaven Gate did not show any intention of stopping them. It allowed them to enter the South Heaven Gate. Brother Haoyin, what's going on? At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang also walked in front of Jun Haoyin and asked Jun Haoyin in confusion. The two of them also did not understand how a heaven stage cultivator who had become a deity could disappear just like that. After hearing the two of them, Jun Haoyin shook his head directly. Just now, he observed that some of the martial artists who had integrated with the heaven stage power seemed to have recovered a little. However, the power that did not belong to them was undergoing a mutation. This mutation was very sudden. If one did not observe carefully, it would be impossible to notice. However, Jun Haoyin did not know what this mutation would do and what impact it would have. He just had an ominous premonition. Perhaps, only by truly stepping into the heavenly palace could he solve the mystery in his heart. Let's go in too. Jun Haoyin pondered for a moment, then immediately led Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia into the South Heaven Gate. This place was filled with divine light, and so was the entire heavenly palace. It was endless. However, this divine light could not be absorbed, so it could only exist in this hall. However, it could subtly change a person's physical body. If a mortal lived in this heavenly palace, he could live for thousands of years. If a martial artist was here, he would live even longer. Although the divine light could not be directly absorbed into the body, it could affect a person's origin energy. Not only Jun Haoyin but the others also noticed this. This large structure was like the palace of a deity dynasty. The main hall and the side halls were all in it. There was a pavilion every 3 steps and a pavilion every 5 steps. On the various halls and pavilions, there were all kinds of immortal phoenixes and true dragons carved on them. The aura was indescribable. However, after walking for a long time, Jun Haoyin and the rest did not find anything valuable. And all of this could only be discovered after entering the South Heaven Gate. Now they could only feel the aura of this hall from the periphery. However, they also noticed that in this heavenly palace, other than the main hall, the other halls could not be entered at all. It was as if they were in another space. Therefore, whether it was Jun Haoyin or the earth cultivators, they could only walk along one path. The person who built this heavenly palace must be an extraordinary person. Using the sea of stars as the foundation stone, I'm afraid even a sovereign would not be so bold. Emperor Xia was extremely surprised. Only a god could build such a palace. Such ability was rare since ancient times. Even if this heavenly palace was not the legendary immortal palace, it would not be too bad. This was something that even a sovereign could not do. We are about to reach the end. There is a 9-colored altar in front. At this time Gu Yuehuang spoke. She looked at the end of the hall. Jun Haoyin looked over and saw a 9-colored altar emitting endless divine light. It was exactly the same as the one he saw before, except that it was more solid. Above the altar, stars circled and chaotic aura filled the air. The entire hall was empty except for this huge 9-colored altar. The 9-colored altar in front of them was probably the most important place in this heavenly palace. It was also the most obvious place. However, Jun Haoyin felt that it was too obvious. Anyone could see it. The person who built this heavenly palace was definitely a person who dominated the world. He could turn 3 celestial realms into palaces. How could it be so easily discovered by others? One had to know that this was the main hall. Gu Yuehuang looked ahead. She was about to go directly, but she suddenly stopped and said, "What's wrong, holy son of Haoyin?" Because she found that Jun Haoyin's eyes were completely different from before. Even Emperor Xia, who was beside him, looked ahead with a trace of shock and fear. Yes, it made Emperor Xia fearful. Gu Yuehuang was shocked. She immediately followed the two of them and looked over. On the altar, all the people who had absorbed the power of the heavenly realm were gathered. They were all gathered there. It was extremely strange. Their faces were pale as if they had lost their minds. They directly cut open their chests and forced out the blood from their hearts. Some even tore open their own bodies and poured their flesh and blood onto the 9-colored altars. Seeing this scene, Gu Yuehuang was shocked. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Those people were fine just now. How did they become like this? Offering their flesh and blood and merging it all into the altar seemed to be some kind of ritual. How? Holy son of Haoyin. At this moment, the warriors of the martial god continent who had listened to Jun Haoyan's words were all shocked. Because they did not absorb the power of the heavenly realm, they were naturally not controlled by that power. Now that they saw this scene, they were simply shocked. These people were not stupid. The strange actions of those cultivators were definitely related to the previous heavenly realm. Buzz. Suddenly, the entire nine-colored altar began to change. Boundless blood-red light surged out. Layers of vast aura burst out. Then, on the altar, 9 rays of light rose to the sky. Waves of divine power surged like a tide. What's going on? Emperor Xia was shocked. He, Jun Haoyan, and the others stood in place and did not approach. Cracks appeared on the 9-colored altar as if it was a cracked ceramic. A shocking aura appeared in the hall. This was the aura of a god, but it was incomplete. Those warriors had used their flesh and blood to stimulate the mysterious power of the altar. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's heart suddenly skipped a beat. A bad premonition arose in his heart. However, the altar had already been activated. It was impossible for it to stop. The heavenly palace, which had been filled with endless divine aura, suddenly became dark and gloomy. The 9-colored altar kept shaking. Jun Haoyan and the others only felt the appearance of a shocking power that permeated the world. At this moment, not only Ji Yunhuang and Emperor Xia, but even Jun Haoyan saw the most shocking scene of his life. The 9-colored altar exploded, and 2 heaven-defying rays of divine light appeared. The boundless aura of a god in the hall had actually turned into a strange aura of death at this moment. Even an Emperor Realm cultivator would immediately perish if they came into contact with such a dense aura of death. But that wasn't what shocked Jun Haoyan and the others the most. It was the enormous coffin that had appeared on the 9-colored altar. Savage dragon heads appeared around the coffin. It was terrifying to the extreme. The entire coffin was covered in black dragons that seemed to be coiled around the coffin. At the very top was an enormous dragon head that seemed to want to devour the void. The most terrifying thing was anger. Every single dragon had 4 legs but 1,000. The dragons were as dense as centipedes. Every single step they took felt like they were stepping on an entire world. Just a single glance was enough to cause Jun Haoyan and the others to shudder. There were a total of 9 dragons with 1,000 legs. Emperor Xia was stunned when he saw this, and he cried out involuntarily, 9 dragons bearers. This is a 9 dragons bearers coffin. This is a taboo. It's a supreme taboo that even gods don't dare to do. 9 dragons bearers. This was the first time Jun Haoyan had heard this name, and just hearing it was enough to shock him. Meanwhile, a tiny crack appeared on the coffin. Something was coming out. Normally speaking, after a powerful figure died, they would search for a burial site according to their strength and glory. As for the 9 dragons corpse bearers, not even the invincible supremes would dare to do such a thing. Dragons were one of the strongest races in the world. In the history of the Great Era, anyone who used the 9 dragons bearers coffin, even an exalt, would be hated by the primeval celestial dragons if they were discovered. In the end, he would directly destroy the tomb and pull the body up to whip it. Because it was a humiliation to the primeval celestial dragons. It was an extraordinary humiliation. Unless it was a supreme existence that even the proud celestial dragons feared. But even a supreme existence would only carve a few dragons on the coffin. But no one dared to carve a 9-headed dragon on the coffin? What kind of person would dare to do such a thing to a true dragon after death? It was obvious that the person inside the coffin was not simple. 9 dragons bearers coffin, burying an extraordinary person. Jun Haoyan and the others stood in the distance, their eyes filled with shock. Why is this dragon completely different from the ones we've seen? Guiyue Huang asked. Not to mention cultivators, but even mortals, when they heard about the existence of dragons, a figure would appear in their minds. That was because the existence of dragons was deeply ingrained in everyone's heart. They knew what an ordinary earth dragon looked like and had seen many of them. They had even seen a true dragon before. But the dragon that appeared before them was like a centipede with 1,000 legs. Even Jun Haoyan and the others hadn't seen such a dragon in their knowledge. This is a dragon from a very long time ago, even surpassing the primeval era. Our Vermilion Bird dynasty's first emperor had seen such an existence written in an ancient book. I've seen information about it in an ancient book, but I'm not sure if this kind of dragon exists because our Vermilion Bird dynasty's first emperor had only seen it in another ancient book, Emperor Xia said slowly. His face was filled with disbelief. It was obvious that he was very shocked. Ever since they entered Mount Tai, they had seen too many legendary things. At that moment, thunder rumbled in the heavenly palace. Thousands of blood-red lights burst out from inside. Emperor Xia and the others only saw the coffin slowly open. Suddenly, a terrifying aura swept out as if they were back in the primeval era. However, when the coffin was completely opened, there was nothing inside. It was as if there was nothing inside. Emperor Xia took a deep breath and opened his eyes, wanting to see the scene inside the coffin. Unfortunately, it seemed that his cultivation wasn't enough. He couldn't see what was inside at all. Dong, dong, dong. Another rumble sounded, making it impossible to tell whether it was the sound of footsteps or drums. No one could tell, so they could only listen attentively. The Eniaworm coffin trembled slightly. The 9,000-legged dragon seemed to be coming to life in the next moment. At this moment, without Emperor Xia noticing, a blurry figure appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 239. A terrifying aura spread in the void as if it was going to shatter the space. In particular, the evil power that was like the aura of hell suddenly gushed out from the void. In just an instant, the originally incomparably sacred heavenly palace was dyed an evil pitch-black color. Seeing this strange scene, Jun Haoyin and the others were shocked. Their faces were filled with disbelief. They felt that the aura was very familiar. The aura that the palace was emitting was exactly the same as the aura of Fengdu that they saw on Mount Tai. The sacred celestial palace had turned into Fengdu, which was filled with evil aura. And the reason for all of this was naturally because of the person who kept climbing out of the coffin in front of him. At this moment, the aura of the figure was extremely evil, like a terrifying demon that came from hell. Crack crack, crack crack. A series of bone-chilling noises rang out, as if their bones were being shattered, directly striking at the hearts of Jun Haoyin and the rest. It was as if even their souls were about to be shattered. Finally, after an unknown period of time, the figure in the coffin crawled out. The figure was dressed in black linen clothes and had withered skin. He looked like a zombie as he climbed out of the Eniaworm coffin. His eyes were extremely deep. Even though his body was withered, he still looked very tall as he stood in front of the coffin. Jun Haoyin and the others stepped back slightly when they saw this. Even though they were far away from the person in front of them, they could still feel the evil aura on him. It was as if one would fall and turn into an evil spirit from hell if they were tainted by it. Who is he? Is he the master of this palace? At this moment, some of the martial artists standing beside Jun Haoyin exclaimed in fear. They couldn't help but tremble. They didn't even dare to look up. Even their minds had suffered a great blow. The skeleton-like figure in front of them was too terrifying. His aura was too evil, and they didn't dare to look at him directly. Hearing these words, Jun Haoyin didn't answer. He stared at the zombie-like figure in front of him without saying a word. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had already guessed a few things. The power revealed by the heaven rank all came from that sinister silhouette. After those people received the power, they had already become slaves to it. After that, they were affected by the nine-colored altar and lost their minds. He sacrificed all of his blood essence and poured it onto the nine-colored altar to revive the person in front of him. But even Jun Haoyin and the others had no idea who the person buried in the Eniaworm coffin was. This was because he could no longer be called a human. Although he had the shape of a human, his spine was full of bone spikes. As he walked out of the coffin, a demonic aura appeared. The person in front of him was a devil. It was a devil that Jun Haoyin and the others had never come into contact with before, but they could still sense a trace of human aura. From this, it could be seen that this figure had fallen from a human to a demon. Before he spoke, Jun Haoyin, Emperor Xia, and the others frowned slightly, waiting for his next reaction. Too weak. These people's flesh and blood are too weak. My body is too weak. The figure in front of him opened his skeleton-like mouth as if he had regained his consciousness. Although the tone of his voice was very strange, Jun Haoyin and the others knew what he was saying through their divine thoughts. How many years has it been? I finally left this place. But this body is too weak. My flesh and blood are not enough. Not enough. He repeatedly muttered something. The hellish aura in his eyes grew thicker, and the aura around him shook. The entire palace rumbled as if it couldn't bear his words. Who are you? What do you have to do with Mount Tai? At this moment, Emperor Xia finally couldn't help but ask directly. He was eager to know who the person in front of him was. He wasn't the only one. Even Jun Haoyin and Guyue Huang had the same question. The 9-dragon coffin bearers was a standard that even the ancient sovereigns didn't dare to use, but this person did. Moreover, it was such a strange 1,000-legged dragon. This person's identity was definitely not ordinary. If he was someone from the Wuxian continent, there would definitely be records of him. When the figure heard Emperor Xia's words, he raised his head. His pitch-black eyes emitted a sharp aura. In the next moment the entire palace turned black. Endless hellish demonic aura swept through, as if dragging Jun Haoyin and the others into hell. Especially that figure. Although his body was withered, the evil power in his eyes seemed to be able to make a god fall. Although it wasn't as vast and majestic as imagined, it was extremely dangerous. Even Jun Haoyin had never seen such a terrifying aura. It couldn't even be compared to a supreme weapon. It was so terrifying that it made people feel uncomfortable. Who am I? The figure spoke again. A hint of contemplation appeared in his eyes, as if he was recalling something. The vicissitude and ancient aura appeared, making people feel like they had entered the primordial age. Boom. At that moment, that person seemed to have remembered something. A terrifying black aura appeared around him. It was incomparably dark and terrifying. He looked at Jun Haoyin and the others in front of him. His body became straighter, and his eyes were filled with kindness and arrogance. I am the demon ancestor Chiyu. I am Chiyu. When Jun Haoyin and the others heard this, they were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Chiyu? This was a figure from the same era as the human ancestor Shen Yuan. He was known as the demon ancestor, the ancestor of demons. It was rumored that all demons in the world respected him as their ancestor. The most terrifying thing was the battle between the God world and the Hell continent. The demon ancestor, Chiyu, was one of the giants of the Hell continent. Although he wasn't the one who created the Hell continent, his strength was so terrifying that he had killed a god. If the human ancestor, Shenji, had not fought with him and destroyed the demon ancestor, no one knew where the entire human race would have gone. That was because the demon ancestor, Chiyu, used to be a human. In other words, demons were another form of existence for the human race. The demon ancestor, Chiyu, was the one who opened this path. Unfortunately, this path of the human race was not tolerated by the heavens and the God world. In the end it was destroyed. Until now only Sun Yan was alive. The human ancestor, Shen Yuan, had such a high status because he had battled the demon ancestor. However, what made everyone present feel incredulous was that, didn't they say that the human ancestor Shen Yuan had already killed Chiyu in his era? Why would he appear in Mount Tai now? At that moment, everyone felt that they had come into contact with an ancient secret. The battle of that era was not only known to the people of the martial god continent, but also to the people of other continents. That was because the entire human race, including the 3,000 continents, knew of this legend. The demon ancestor, Chiyu, had already died in that battle. He had been killed by the human ancestor, Shen Yuan. This was something that everyone knew. However, it had now appeared before their eyes. How could they believe it? However, Jun Haoyin's thoughts were different from the others. Perhaps the demon ancestor, Chiyu, was still alive. Although it was said that Shen Yuan had killed Chiyu in the battle of the ancient era, that was only a legend. No one knew the specific outcome. Perhaps there was another possibility, which was that Chiyu had not died but had been sealed. Mount Tai was the place where the demon ancestor had been sealed. However, this was only a guess. Jun Haoyin could not figure out the reason for the appearance of the true dragon and the Hell Necropolis, as well as the Heavenly Palace. He still needed to continue exploring this point. The person in front of him who claimed to be the demon ancestor, Chiyu, could help him solve this riddle. Isn't Chiyu already dead? Isn't Mount Tai containing immortal fate? Yes, this is the Heavenly Palace. If it wasn't the demon palace, how could it become like this? Impossible. The demon ancestor, Chiyu, was killed by the human ancestor, Shen Yuan. You can't be the demon ancestor. The warriors present could not accept this result. In fact, even if it was true, they did not want to accept it. The demon ancestor, Chiyu? He was a legendary figure who surpassed the gods in the legends. Even the supreme giants of the god realm could not do anything to him. He was the true ancestor of the demons. They could not face him at all. They did not want to accept that such a terrifying figure had appeared in a place that was supposed to contain immortal fate. As for Emperor Xia and Guyue Huang, although they were puzzled, they did not speak. They just waited quietly for the answer of the man who claimed to be Chiyu. Shen Yuan is indeed very strong, but he is only in the same realm as me. I have existed since ancient times, and one day I will rule the world. Chiyu kept speaking, and his voice was extremely loud and vast, as if it was shaking the space. Every syllable directly pressed down on the hearts of Jun Haoyin and the others, rumbling continuously. These words were like the whispers of a real demon trying to lead them to fall and become demons. Submit to me and I will grant you eternal life. When the demon ancestor, Chiyu, heard the words of those warriors, his shriveled face appeared to be uglier than a ghost. He walked forward step by step, and the black aura around him swept out continuously. The terrifying aura around him shook like a demon from hell. Just like that, he kept approaching Jun Haoyan and the others. That evil aura swept out and lingered in everyone's hearts. I am the demon ancestor Chiyu. How can I die? I am an invincible person. Even if the divine king descends, he can forget about killing me. At this moment, the demon ancestor Chiyu kept speaking. His voice was extremely loud and vast, as if it was shaking the space. Every syllable directly pressed down on the hearts of Jun Haoyan and the others, rumbling continuously. These words were like the whispers of a real demon, trying to lead them to fall and become demons. Submit to me and I will grant you eternal life. Submit to me and I will grant you ascension. Submit to me and I will grant you metamorphosis. He kept speaking, and every word went straight to Jun Haoyan and the others' hearts, destroying them. Jun Haoyan, Emperor Xia, and the others were all Guanjiao. Their primordial spirits were stable, and they could temporarily resist this kind of induction. However, it was different for the other warriors. They were directly stunned, and their 2 moons were lifeless. They directly turned into walking corpses and walked towards Chiyu. Their faces were pale, and traces of black aura lingered in their bodies. Oh. At this moment, Emperor Xia, who saw this scene, immediately shouted and activated his powerful true origin energy, forbidding the few warriors in front of him. However, at this moment, Chiyu snorted coldly and directly raised his hand. In an instant, an invincible aura burst out. It directly charged towards Emperor Xia. The latter's entire soul began to palpitate. His entire body was trembling as if he had fallen into an endless hell. At the same time, even Gu Yuehuang and Jun Haoyan were affected. At this moment, in front of everyone present, the originally withered inner body became incomparably tall, like an ancient demonic shadow. Just like that, he stood between heaven and earth, descending boundless majesty. The 3,000 worlds submitted under his feet. Everyone looked at Chiyu in front of them and their hearts trembled. Compared to the demonic shadow in front of them, they were really weak, like ants. The real demonic ancestor was incomparably terrifying. Not only could he suppress the 3,000 worlds, but there were not many in the divine realm who could subdue him. I am the demonic ancestor and I will give you one last chance. Submit and I will grant you eternal life. If you refuse to repent, I will let you fall into hell forever and suffer for thousands of generations. Chiyu spoke and his voice was incomparably loud, shaking the void. Gu Yuehuang, Emperor Xia, and the others vomited blood at this moment. The black aura that was constantly spreading around also surged into their bodies at this moment. This was the invasion of the demonic aura. Once it completely merged with the 2 of them, it would completely corrupt them. It was almost impossible for people who were personally lured into becoming demons by the demonic ancestor. They would be demons for life. At this moment, even the 2 of them were affected and couldn't resist. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan couldn't help but frown. At this moment, he was also under extreme pressure, and the demonic aura was constantly surrounding him. He could determine that this demonic aura was the same as the power of the heavenly stage from before. It was just in a different way. When one reached the level of the demonic ancestor Chiyu, it was almost easy to conceal the source of the power. Previously, the heavenly stage was only an influence. Now that Qifeng was personally attacking, everyone was under a completely different situation. Holy Son of Haoyan, what should we do? At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang were both under terrifying pressure. They tried their best to expel the demonic aura, but the effect was too weak. If this continued, they would sooner or later become demons and become the slaves of the demonic ancestor. Jun Haoyan was also in deep danger. He had encountered the greatest crisis since he started cultivating. One had to know that they were facing the demonic ancestor Chiyu. That was the demonic ancestor Chiyu that even the self-proclaimed divine king couldn't kill. In an instant, Jun Haoyan seemed to have thought of something. In an instant, his eyes were too bright and his face was full of smiles. He faced the legendary existence in front of him and said with incomparable ease, "In that case, please grant me death, demonic ancestor." This sentence made Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang's hearts tremble. Chapter 240. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia thought they had heard wrong. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Hao Tian's holy son actually asked the demon ancestor Chiyu to kill himself? Was Hao Tian's holy son asking for death? Did he not want to live anymore? Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia were really confused. Even if they were facing the demon ancestor Chiyu, they did not want to die so easily. However, what worried them was that Jun Haoyan's words would completely enrage the demon ancestor Chiyu. At that time, the demon ancestor Qiyu would be enraged and no one would be able to survive. According to Jun Haoyin's usual style, the two of them knew that Jun Haoyin might have some plan in mind. However, they were facing the demon ancestor Qiyu now. In front of such a terrifying existence, no strategy would work. However, when they saw Jun Haoyin's confident eyes, they were looking forward to it. "What did you just say?" Hearing Jun Haoyin's words, Qiyu spoke again. At the same time, a vast demonic aura swept out in all directions. Qiyu's body was too tall, even bigger than the stars. It was simply terrifying. Just the supreme aura emanating from Qiyu was enough to shock people. If his true strength was unleashed, it would be a terrifying existence that would shock the ages. At that moment, the demon ancestor Qiyu looked at Jun Haoyin with bloodthirst in his eyes. It was as if he wanted to annihilate Jun Haoyin in the next moment and completely erase him from the world. Feeling the bloodthirsty gaze of the demon ancestor Qiyu, whether it was Emperor Xia Guiyue Huang, or the other surviving warriors, they all felt a chill in their hearts. They did not have the courage to look Qiyu in the eye. They could feel that Qiyu was on the verge of exploding with rage. However, what they did not expect was that Jun Haoyin was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked directly at the tall demonic figure in front of him with a faint smile on his face. That smile seemed to be mocking fiend ancestor Qiyu. Jun Haoyin was too confident and didn't panic at all when he was in danger. Even in the face of the legendary demon ancestor, he only spoke softly. "I said, let the devil ancestor grant me death." Jun Haoyin's repeated words made the hearts of the people present tremble. In their hearts, they even thought that Jun Haoyin had gone mad. Let the demon ancestor make a move and directly kill him? Only a madman would do such a thing. However, when they looked at Jun Haoyin, they saw that Jun Haoyin maintained a calm expression, without the slightest hint of fear. Upon seeing Jun Haoyin's attitude, Qiyu's expression changed slightly. He did not expect that a person could remain calm in the face of his power. If it was in the past, he could even kill a deity with a slap, let alone Jun Haoyin. In front of him, Jun Haoyin was not even an ant. However, no matter what, that was in the past and not now. He then continued speaking. "You are very courageous, but I am the demon ancestor. How can I let you have your way? I will send you into the boundless hell and make you suffer the pain of the boundless hell forever." Qiyu continued speaking. Qiyu continued to speak. The black light around him began to rise, as if it was going to turn into flames and destroy everything. A powerful aura spread out and filled the entire space. He was like a demon lord who ruled the world, revealing his supreme power. However, when Jun Haoyin heard that, the corner of his mouth curled up. He was completely fearless. "Demon ancestor, you can't even kill me. How can you send me into the boundless hell?" Once he said that, even Guiyue Huang looked at Jun Haoyin as if she was looking at a madman. Who was the demon ancestor? He was a terrifying existence who once fought with the human ancestor Shen Yuan. He was the ancestor of all demons. Even the supreme giants of the heavenly realm could not do anything to him. Although Jun Haoyin was extremely talented and powerful, he was only in the Dharma plane of the primordial soul realm at most. Even a deity who chased after his entire life was nothing in front of Qiyu. Killing a single Jun Haoyin was a simple matter to him. However, now Jun Haoyin actually said that the demon ancestor could not kill him. This was a complete joke. No one would believe it. However, at that moment, Guiyue Huang and Emperor Xia suddenly felt the aura of the demon ancestor change. It was a demonic shadow that existed forever. It did not seem as tall as before and did not seem to be an invincible existence. Could it be that what Brother Haoyin said is true? The demon ancestor can't kill us? At that moment, Guiyue Huang and Emperor Xia looked at each other and felt disbelief. The demon ancestor, Qiyu, whose name shook the world, could not even kill them? What? Senior demon ancestor, I was right. At that moment, a smile appeared on Jun Haoyin's face. The demonic aura that wanted to fuse with him also melted at that moment. Just like that, he stood there with his body straight. Although he was looking up at the demon ancestor in front of him, his brilliance could not be concealed. Everyone else looked at Jun Haoyin and then at Qiyu in front of them. Then they looked at each other. This was because they realized that the demonic aura around them had disappeared. This made them a little confused. Without the demonic aura, they suddenly felt that the demon ancestor in front of them was not as terrifying as before. Seeing all this, everyone guessed in their hearts. Could it be that all of this was done by the holy son of Haoyin? It should be known that the demonic aura from before was something that even deities could not touch directly. Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Jun Haoyin naturally knew what they were thinking. He immediately began to explain, Previously we were afraid, which gave the demon ancestor an opportunity to take advantage of us. Now that you know that the demon ancestor can't kill us, you naturally have no fear. Demons originated from the fear in their hearts. Although the demon ancestor was different, his current strength was really too weak. Hearing Jun Haoyin's words, everyone's hearts trembled. Then they looked at the incomparably tall demon ancestor again. How was this legendary figure weak? Ah, Ji Shenyuan. I'm the demon ancestor. Demon ancestor. How many years has it been? You're already dead. How many years has it been? Why do you still want to seal me in Mount Tai forever? At that moment, Chiyu roared. His words were full of resentment toward the human ancestor. Ji Shenyuan was the original name of the human ancestor. It was also at that moment that everyone present saw the demonic figure in front of them slowly disappear. The hellish aura in the surroundings also disappeared. The heavenly palace once again returned to its previous sacred appearance. However, those cultivators who used the essence of flesh and blood to nourish the coffin were already dead. In front of Jun Haoyin and the others, Chiyu had already returned to his previous withered appearance. His whole body was dried up. He was just sitting in front of the 9-dragon corpse coffin. His aura was more than 100 million times weaker than before. This was Chiyu's current appearance. He had been sealed for too long. Mount Tai was the place where he was sealed. Although he was awakened by the essence of flesh and blood of those cultivators, the human ancestor was still there. The seal and restriction of the human ancestor was still there. The current Chiyu could not break free from it at all. At this moment, Chiyu raised his head once again. His pitch-black eyes looked at Jiang Chen with boundless killing intent. Kid, how did you see through it? Chiyu's words had undoubtedly admitted Jun Haoyin's words. With his current strength he could not kill Jun Haoyin and the others. He could not even pose a threat to them. This was his current state. However, there was no problem with the aura that Chiyu had revealed earlier. Even a god could not see through it. Chiyu could not understand how this Jun Haoyin, who was not even a god, could see through it. As an existence who had lived for so long, he could not believe that he was defeated by such a young insect. However, Jun Haoyin did not feel proud after hearing this. He was still as calm as before. He said softly, "The Devil Lord is a peerless existence. Even a god could not do anything to him. You can say that we are just ants in front of you. A sneeze from you could kill us 1,000 times over. Unfortunately, Devil Lord, you are too impatient. You want us to submit to you. Logically speaking, people like us are not in your eyes. Perhaps only a god could make use of us." Jun Haoyin said calmly. He was very calm and explained his reasons. When the others heard this, they immediately came to a realization. Yes, who was the Devil Lord? It would be too easy for him to kill them. However, he was now wasting his time on them. This meant that Qilong had no other way to deal with the Bajing other than them. Looking at it from the side, the current Chiyu was no longer the Chiyu at his peak. Even so, how can you be sure that I can't kill you? Chiyu asked again. He had some doubts and wanted to clear them up. He wanted to know just how in the world this human before him managed to figure it out. Originally, he had no reason to talk nonsense with Jun Haoyin. He was like Jun Haoyin. However, he had been sealed for too long. It was not easy for him to awaken. Moreover, he had fallen into the hands of such a person. If he did not know the cause and effect of this matter, he would not have surrendered. When the others heard Chiyu's words, they nodded. Indeed, even if the Devil Lord did not have the power of his peak, even if it was only 1/10 or 1/1000th of his power, it was not something that Jun Haoyin and the others could resist. However, Jun Haoyin was now sure that Qilong could not kill them. This was not something that could be easily seen. It needed to be understood. One had to know that when facing such an existence, the slightest difference was equivalent to gambling with one's life. When Jun Haoyin heard Chiyu's words, he changed his expression. He didn't change his bag and spoke softly. If I'm not wrong, this is the heavenly palace that the human ancestor, Shenyuan, specially built to suppress you. The 9-colored altar was the eye of the array to suppress the dragon carrying the ruler coffin. Devil Lord, after you walked out, you did not choose to walk out of the heavenly palace. Presumably, the heavenly palace still has the power left behind by the human ancestor, Shenyuan. This power is not something that you can break, let alone killing people here. Otherwise, you would not have controlled those martial artists to sacrifice themselves. This analysis stunned Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang. Their expressions kept changing. They really did not expect Jun Haoyin to be able to analyze so many things in such a dangerous situation. The slightest carelessness could have cost them their lives. Even Chiyu's expression changed slightly when he looked at Jun Haoyin. He seemed to be admiring him, but more than that, he was filled with hatred. You're really something. I'm afraid you're even more arrogant than Ji Shenyuan before he came back to life. Especially when you ascended the heaven realm, I realized how powerful you are. I'm very interested in you. This is indeed the heavenly palace that Ji Shenyuan built to suppress me. However, it's been so long that a flaw has appeared in the array. It's also something that you did not notice. Using this flaw, I might be able to walk out of Mount Tai. Once I walk out of Mount Tai, I will be able to return to my peak in less than 1,000 years. Do you know what this flaw is? At that moment, the fiend ancestor Qi Long slowly stood up. The aura around him kept fluctuating. Although it was not very strong, it was very solid. He had been sealed for countless years, but he still did not die. This meant that he was too powerful. Even the human ancestor Shenyuan could not kill him. Even if he did not have the strength of his peak and was restricted by the heavenly palace, he was still the Wuxiang fiend ancestor. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the power of the heaven realm. Now that he had escaped from the altar and the coffin, it meant that Qiyu had a way to escape. Seeing this, Jun Haoyin and the others were shocked. They kept retreating, trying to stay as far away from Qiyu as possible. Because just a moment ago, they felt a supreme sense of danger that made them tremble in fear. Don't resist. I am the fiend ancestor. At that moment, Qiyu looked at Jun Haoyin and the others. A drop of black blood that emitted endless light of hell appeared. Just like that. This drop of black blood fused into the fiend ancestor's body. This is a drop of demonic blood that I refined after countless years and the sacrifices of those ants just now. And this drop of blood can allow me to recover my strength for a moment. Although it's very little, it's enough to deal with you. At that moment, just as Qiyu finished speaking, the black aura around him became denser and denser. His entire body kept shaking. Heaven and earth seemed to be silent at this moment, and the entire space seemed to be imprisoned. That vast power seemed to be able to suppress 3,000 worlds. Although it was only for a moment, the fiend ancestor had recovered a little at this moment. He had regained the terrifying state that suppressed the heavenly palace in the past. The supreme pressure shook and Qiyu opened his eyes again. In an instant, heaven and earth lost their color, and the entire world lost its color. The terrifying power shook. Just the moment Qiyu opened his eyes, Guyue Huang and the others fainted, as if they would never wake up. At this moment, Red Dust's hair stood on end, and his primordial spirit was trembling. He could clearly feel that his entire body had fallen into an endless hell, and he could not control it. Especially at this moment, he was getting closer and closer to Qiyu. Qiyu's palms were tightly grabbing Jun Haoyin's chest. Chapter 241. I have to say that your physical body is very good. Even in the ancient times, it could be considered a top-notch physical body. Hey, you're actually cultivating the indestructible divine body? I didn't expect this supreme physique cultivation technique to have been passed down. It seems that your appearance is the best opportunity for me to escape from the seal of Mount Tai. When the demon ancestor Qiyu suppressed Jun Haoyin, he carefully examined Jun Haoyin's physical body and a smile appeared on his face. He was very satisfied with the physical body of this kid in front of him. Although it was not as good as the immortal demon body that he had painstakingly refined, it had unlimited potential and could reach his level in the future. What made Qiyu even more surprised was that Jun Haoyin had also cultivated the indestructible divine body, a supreme physique cultivation technique. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was in a very dangerous situation. He was completely suppressed by Qiyu. He could not even use his physical body, let alone his spiritual ether. Although Qiyu had only awakened a part of his power, it was not something that he could deal with right now. The most important thing was that Jun Haoyin had already seen through it. The flaw in the formation that Qiyu had mentioned before was very likely related to him. Qiyu wanted to use him to escape from Mount Tai. So, the demon ancestor Qiyu wants my physical body. Although there was a storm in his heart, Jun Haoyin still suppressed his emotions. At this moment he was very calm. He did not feel any fear in the face of the infamous demon ancestor. Jun Haoyin began to think about how he could escape from the demon ancestor's control. You are indeed very smart. However, I have not lived for so long in vain. After hearing Jun Haoyin's words, Qiyu's expression did not change much. It seemed that he had already guessed what Jun Haoyin was thinking. I know what you are thinking of to escape from my control. It is impossible. You can never do it. When he heard that, Jun Haoyin's heart sank. The demon alpha was the demon alpha. He had guessed everything. Qiyu's performance was simply too powerful. Furthermore, he was a character from that era who had lived for countless years. Nothing could be hidden from him. It could be said that he really didn't have any confidence when facing this person before him. What should we do now? Jun Haoyan's heart raced as he began to feel anxious. But no matter what, he couldn't think of a way to deal with the person in front of him. It was also at this moment that Jun Haoyan suddenly felt his entire body turn cold, as if he had been dragged into hell. He opened his eyes and looked at Chiyu. Suddenly, Chiyu's body began to change. A black shadow walked out of Chiyu's body and stood in front of him. This figure was truly too powerful. It was pitch black and evil like a demon that had just walked out of prison. Jun Haoyan knew that this was Chiyu's primordial spirit. Just like that, Chiyu's primordial spirit walked out step by step, as if it wanted to walk into Jun Haoyan's glabella. Once Chiyu's primordial spirit walked in, it was possible that Jun Haoyan's physical body would be completely taken away by him. This was something that Jun Haoyan couldn't allow no matter what. However, he couldn't do anything now. He could only look at Chiyu's primordial spirit. Buzz. In an instant, Jun Haoyan only felt a roar in his mind, and a chill ran down his spine. At this critical moment, Jun Haoyan didn't expect a fragment to disperse from Jun Haoyan's dantian. A monstrous aura that had never appeared on Jun Haoyan's body before surged out. Feeling this power in his body, even Jun Haoyan was shocked. He didn't even know when the fragment had been hidden in his body, and it even carried this kind of power. Ji Xianyuan. Sensing this aura, Chiyu's reaction was even greater. He directly entered a state of rage and blasted towards the fragment, wanting to break it in one fell swoop. However, just as Chiyu was about to destroy the fragment, it exploded and turned into a ray of light that drilled into Jun Haoyan's body. Then a figure in a golden emperor's robe appeared in Jun Haoyan's mind. This figure looked at him quietly. Chiyu has already appeared. I am powerless to stop him now. This is my last resort, the power of the human ancestor. As a human, you have reached the 990th step of the stairway to heaven. Your potential is limitless. From now on, everything of the human race is in your hands. After the power of the human ancestor fuses with you, you will obtain my power for a short period of time. I will leave it to you to suppress Chiyu. At this moment, although Jun Haoyan couldn't see the true face of the figure in his mind, he could guess his identity. Human ancestor Ji Xianyuan. The fragment in his dantian was a backup plan left behind by human ancestor Xianyuan. Although Jun Haoyan didn't know where the fragment in his dantian came from, it should have something to do with him reaching the 990th step of the stairway to heaven. It seemed that human ancestor Xianyuan had long expected that Chiyu would escape one day, so he left this fragment as a backup plan. The moment human ancestor Xianyuan finished speaking, Jun Haoyan felt his primordial spirit instantly grow by billions of times. In an instant, a feeling of controlling the universe and sweeping through the heavens arose spontaneously in Jun Haoyan's heart. Even he couldn't adapt to the unparalleled aura on his body. In the next moment, Chiyu's powerful black primordial spirit directly arrived in front of Jun Haoyan. Kid, you inherited Ji Xianyuan's power? At this moment, looking at Jun Haoyan's powerful primordial spirit, demon ancestor Chiyu's eyes flashed with vigilance. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's primordial spirit was emitting endless divine light, and his entire body was emitting the aura of the human ancestor. In particular, this invincible aura seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world, sweeping everything in its path. It seems that it won't be so easy for your excellency demon ancestor to occupy my body. Looking at the human ancestor demon ancestor Chiyu in front of him, even though Jun Haoyan had obtained the person, Zhu Xuanyuan's power didn't become arrogant, and he didn't dare to let his guard down. The guy in front of him was an existence that even human ancestor Xianyuan couldn't destroy. If he thought that he could completely suppress Chiyu with the power of human ancestor Xianyuan, then he was too naive. Therefore, even though he was now extremely powerful, Jun Haoyan didn't let his guard down at all. Facing Jun Haoyan, demon ancestor Chiyu's eyes revealed more and more killing intent as he looked at Jun Haoyan. Back then, he had been sealed under Mount Tai by human ancestor Xianyuan for countless years. Now, as long as he destroyed Jun Haoyan, he could completely eliminate human ancestor Xuanyuan's trump card. Then he would be considered the winner of this game with human ancestor Xianyuan. Ever since the ancient war, everyone knew that human ancestor Xianyuan had defeated demon ancestor Chiyu. Today, Chiyu decided to completely change this legend. From today onwards, it would be demon ancestor Chiyu who defeated human ancestor Xianyuan. This was a great war that originated from that era. Although it had ended long ago, it was still a great war between the two sides today. Chiyu had a drop of demon blood that he had condensed over countless years, allowing him to recover his power for a moment. On the other hand, Jun Haoyin had obtained the power left behind by human ancestor Xianyuan, and his primordial spirit had strengthened by hundreds of millions of times. Even in the face of such a ferocious and peerless expert, Jun Haoyin still didn't fear him. Although the power left behind by human ancestor Xianyuan didn't belong to him now, it had already fused with him. Jun Haoyin had a premonition that the power left behind by human ancestor Xianyuan wouldn't harm him at all. Furthermore, after the power disappeared, what would be left behind would be Jun Haoyin's fortune. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had fully fused with the unprecedented power and was facing demon ancestor Qiyu directly. As the demon ancestor, Qiyu was simply too strong. He was simply an invincible existence. If Jun Haoyin only relied on his own strength, he wouldn't be able to defeat him at all. The difference in cultivation between the two was simply too great. It wasn't something that talent and trump cards could offset. This was also something that human ancestor Xianyuan had expected. In that era, human ancestor Xianyuan had already known that Qiyu definitely had a trump card, so he was no exception. Now this battle was the final battle. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the two of them were using Jun Haoyin's physical body as the battlefield. Both sides were unleashing terrifying power, and various divine auras spread out. A battle between primordial spirits was the most mysterious and dangerous. Once it failed, there would be no hope of recovery. Either Qiyu occupied Jun Haoyin's physical body, or Jun Haoyin suppressed Qiyu and obtained the final victory. However, even Jun Haoyin wasn't sure who would win in the end. At this moment, Qiyu took a step forward. Vast demonic aura rose and filled the entire heavenly palace, sweeping between heaven and earth. Then Qiyu raised his hand slightly. It was as if time had changed. His hand could cover the sky and suppress 3,000 worlds. This was true power. Although it was only the power displayed by Qiyu's primordial spirit, it was still very powerful. It was the embodiment of true strength that could suppress everything. Jun Haoyin naturally wouldn't fall behind. He was human ancestor Xuanyuan's trump card. His entire primordial spirit body flowed with endless light. Every inch of his physical body was like the most perfect body created by the heavens. It was incomparably powerful and eternal. Brilliant divine light circulated. Jun Haoyin faced Qiyu's attack and directly punched. Like an ancient war god, Jun Haoyin's punch directly passed through time and collided with Qiyu's palm. Golden and black light intertwined, emitting layers of terrifying aura. Every wisp of light could easily kill an immortal 5th stage master. Even if an Emperor Realm master descended, he wouldn't be able to resist it. It was really too powerful. Qiyu could be called the one without cause. He was truly tyrannical and terrifying. Fortunately, this was the heavenly palace built by human ancestor Xianyuan to suppress demon ancestor Qiyu. Therefore, no matter what happened here, it wouldn't have any effect on the outside world. Otherwise, if their primordial spirits fought in the outside world, it wouldn't be a problem even if millions of miles of mountains and rivers were destroyed. Even an Emperor Realm Master wouldn't be able to stop their battle. The entire starry sky might be shattered. Although it was a battle between primordial spirits, the impact was too great. Not only could this heavenly palace protect Jun Haoyin's physical body from destruction, it could also calm the battle between the two. It was human ancestor Xuanyuan's trump card. And he had already obtained a wisp of Xuanyuan's memory. Jun Haoyin also fully understood the purpose of this Mount Tai. Was for Qiyu. In that distant era, after human ancestor Xianyuan suppressed Qiyu, he set up a 9-colored altar. In the future, countless peerless masters appeared on this altar to offer sacrifices to heaven and Zen. However, the sacrifice was just a pretense. Those peerless masters were all resting and casting seals over and over again, fearing that Qiyu would come out. Unfortunately, after so long, the martial god continent had been completely ruined. It was difficult for such a master to appear. Most importantly, due to the passage of time and the 5 decays of heaven and man, Mount Tai disappeared directly. It wasn't until the 5 decays of heaven and man in this era that the calamity appeared. However, too much time had passed, and there were no masters to cast seals on the 9-colored altar. This allowed Qiyu to slowly take control of the heavenly palace. When Mount Tai attacked, he used the heaven rank to absorb the blood essence of various supreme heavens geniuses. He used the flesh and blood of those cultivators to destroy the altar and let himself come out. However, this step was already known by Xianyuan in that era. Therefore, he injected the last bit of power into Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit battle. Now, this battle was about the fate of the martial god continent and even the 3,000 worlds. When Qiyu came out, he would definitely summon the demon race. At that time, even the strongest people of the Black-Yellow continent would not be able to stop him. If demon ancestor Qiyu's strength recovered to its peak, no one would be able to stop him except for the God realm. Although Jun Haoyan had no intention of saving the world, once he failed, his primordial spirit would be directly devoured by Qiyu and his physical body would be directly occupied. This was something he would not allow to happen. He immediately attacked with all his strength. The peerless fist print emitted a vast golden divine light, illuminating a great world. On Qiyu's side, the black hellish aura could plunge everything into darkness. This was a peerless battle between the two of them. No one knew, only the two of them fought with all their might. If someone was in the Great Hall, they would only see that half of Jun Haoyan's body was golden and the other half was black. The two constantly intertwined. They could not even sense the aura of Qiyu. How could they know about this shocking battle? Boom. Another violent explosion separated Jun Haoyan and Qiyu. Qiyu was the demon ancestor. He used the demonic blood to condense his primordial spirit, which was also his own power. It was extremely convenient and terrifying. As for Jun Haoyan, Bai Yi had just merged with his power. His cultivation realm was low. Although he could display terrifying power for a while, Qiyu could. Once time passed, there was no doubt that Qiyu would win. Bai Yi and the demon ancestor Qiyu were still alive, but the human ancestor Shen Yuan was already dead. I am the demon ancestor. You will definitely submit to me. Qiyu smiled. His eyes were filled with hellish aura, boundless and terrifying. At this moment he seemed to be able to see his victory. After countless years of hibernation, today he would rule the world. Chapter 242. Haha kid, although human ancestor Shen Yuan has a backup plan, it's not your own power. You won't be able to control it in such a short time. If this goes on, you'll be defeated and die. It's only a matter of time before you turn into nothingness. Kid, if you know what's good for you, you'll take the initiative to merge with me. I'm the almighty demon ancestor. As long as you're willing to submit to me, I'll grant you eternal life. I'll grant you anything that you'll never be able to find in your life. At that moment, Qiyu's hands were constantly waving as terrifying attacks were unleashed from his hands. Moments later, the entire void was shrouded in darkness. The demon ancestor Qiyu seemed to have become the only ruler of this world. At the same time, his eyes were fixed on Jun Haoyan as he spoke incessantly. His words were filled with endless temptation. He wanted to make Jun Haoyan give up resisting. In ancient times, the demon ancestor Qiyu had used this method to tempt humans. It was also his best bewitchment technique. The demon ancestor Qiyu was extremely powerful. With his strength, he could definitely cover up everything by using the bewitchment technique. The bewitchment words that came out of his mouth could even tempt a god. Those who were tempted would unconsciously do as the demon ancestor Qiyu said. It was as if they could obtain eternal life and become the supreme ruler of all time. At that moment, the black hellish aura that filled the void was too majestic. It covered the golden sky, and the demon ancestor Qiyu's body grew larger and larger. At that moment, their souls were all in Jun Haoyan's body. Originally, Jun Haoyan's body was half gold and half black. But now 2/3 of it had turned black. This meant that the demon ancestor Qiyu had the upper hand. Qiyu was slowly controlling this world as if no one could stop him. At that moment, the golden light of Jun Haoyan's primordial spirit grew dimmer, as if it was about to sink into this hellish world. Qiyu was right. The demon ancestor's power was a power that had just fused with him. He couldn't completely control it now. This was his current shortcoming. It was also the reason why Jun Haoyan was slightly weaker than Qiyu. One was a devil that had existed since ancient times, an existence that caused even the supreme existences of the divine world to have a headache and fear. The other was a junior who had just started cultivating not long ago. Although Jun Haoyan had extraordinary talent and battle prowess, he was still a young man with a huge gap in cultivation. Who was strong and who was weak? Anyone could see it with a single glance. However, no matter how fiend ancestor Qiyu tried to tempt him, Jun Haoyan remained true to himself. He was not tempted and continued to circulate his essence spirit. Right now, he could only do his best to control the human ancestor's power. Although he was unable to fully control the power of the human ancestor, Shen Yuan, when Qiyu wanted to devour him, he was unable to do so. He also had to put in a lot of effort. However, Jun Haoyan knew that if this continued, his defeat was only a matter of time. What he needed to do now was to think of a way to resolve the situation before him. Otherwise, he would really be consigned to eternal damnation. Under such circumstances, Jun Haoyan slowly closed his eyes. The 7 treasures Bodhi tree in his dantian rumbled continuously. Every leaf emitted the light of wisdom. It took root in Jun Haoyan's dantian and merged with his flesh and blood, allowing Jun Haoyan's wisdom to be unparalleled. At the same time, the power of the past Amitabha Sutra was also activated by Jun Haoyan. This supreme soul refining technique was really powerful. With this Tao mantra, Jun Haoyan's use of the primordial spirit could be said to be very handy. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's essence spirit opened his eyes once again. Golden light appeared in his eyes, illuminating everything. Rays of light burst out of his body and circulated around his essence spirit. It was like glass, perfect and flawless. Jun Haoyan silently recited the past Amitabha Sutra. Jun Haoyan's essence spirit was engraved in the image of an emperor, ruling the world. Boundless golden light once again swept through the area, shooting into every corner of the city. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was like a golden moon in the dark night. He wanted to use his own power to illuminate the boundless sky. The darkness between heaven and earth seemed to have lessened. With the support of the past Amitabha Sutra and the 7 treasures Bodhi tree, Jun Haoyan once again erupted with shocking power. Rumble. Endless golden light turned into divine lightning. It was as if there was a god controlling heaven and earth and sending down divine punishment. The hell created by Chi Yu was violently shaken. Golden divine lightning constantly struck down, causing heaven and earth to emit light. Even Chi Yu's essence spirit was affected at this moment, as if it would be destroyed at any time. I didn't expect that such an outstanding person would appear in the future. Not bad. It's a pity that you didn't join my demon race, Chi Yu said. He was a little surprised by Jun Haoyan's counterattack. In his opinion, even if this person was unparalleled, he still couldn't fight against him. Even if he had the power of man ancestor Xinyuan, he wasn't Xinyuan resurrected and couldn't fight against him. The gap between the two was too big and immeasurable. This was also one of the sources of Chi Yu's confidence. However, he didn't expect Jun Haoyan to be able to erupt with such terrifying power. It really surprised him. He praised Jun Haoyan as an outstanding person of the current era. Not to mention the declining martial god continent, even in the divine realm, Chi Yu believed that there weren't many people like him. However, Jun Haoyan did it. Moreover, he did it so impudently, resisting his power. However, no matter how stunning Jun Haoyan was or how many trump cards he used, Chi Yu was still a demon god. After all, Chi Yu was the demon ancestor, an unparalleled figure. At this moment he looked at Jun Haoyan, who was emitting endless light. His face was first filled with admiration, then it turned into ferocity. Everything ends here. As soon as Chi Yu finished speaking, his black primordial spirit started to change. Chi Yu, who originally looked like a human, changed at this moment, turning into a demon. Bone spikes that could pierce through the sky appeared on his spine, emitting a cold light. His eyes were like that of a wild beast. His entire primordial spirit turned into an image that was neither human nor beast. It was as if it only existed in the netherworld. This was Chi Yu's appearance after he fell into the demon state. An evil aura burst out as if it could devour everything. The hellish aura kept rioting, making it unbearable. With just a glance, it was as if one would fall into depravity. At this moment, the golden light and divine lightning emitted by Jun Haoyan were all covered by darkness. The sun and moon in the entire world lost their light, as if nothing existed. Jun Haoyan, who was emitting a golden light, turned into a demon. He was like a firefly in the dark night, about to be extinguished at any moment. You failed in the end. Don't worry, I will use your body to make a name for myself again. You should feel lucky and honored. Chi Yu spoke. His body was extremely huge, occupying 90% of the light, turning the world into true darkness. However, at this moment, an extremely powerful aura erupted, causing his expression to change. Dong. Then a bell rang throughout the 3,000 continents. It was unknown where this bell came from, and it was unknown when it would stop ringing. In such a boundless night, the sound of the bell seemed to represent a change in the world. The darkness that had filled 90% of the sky began to stop at this moment. No matter what, it could not devour the last trace of light. The scene in front of him stunned Chi Yu. He found it hard to believe and his heart trembled at this moment, because even he didn't know where the bell was coming from. At this moment, the vast night began to fade, and the layer of light that belonged to Jun Haoyan swept out and began to fill the sky. How is this possible? Chi was a little surprised. He could clearly feel that Jun Haoyan's strength was not as strong as his, but now, a bell had appeared and restrained his strength. One should know that. He was someone who had become a god. No matter what kind of change he faced, he was not afraid at all. However, the sound of the bell had shaken him a little. He had no idea what was going on. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit opened its eyes again. Endless light illuminated the entire world. Every strand of golden light was like the sun, about to break through the darkness of the world. Qiyu did not expect such a scene. He did not know what other tricks Jun Haoyin had up his sleeves. At this moment, the intense light shook. Jun Haoyin stepped out step by step, dispelling the endless darkness. Before his primordial spirit, a bell emitted an endless amount of light, and its powerful aura began to spread. There was a charm that could suppress the world. Even Qiyu's eyes were slightly shaken. The darkness that he had created was only 70% left at this moment. No matter what he did, he could not completely devour the remaining light. Is that a supreme weapon in your hand? No, it's definitely not an ordinary supreme weapon. At this moment, Qiyu finally noticed the bell in front of Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit, and there was a hint of surprise in his voice. He did not expect that Jun Haoyin would have a supreme weapon in his hand. Moreover, it was an extremely terrifying supreme treasure. Qiyu could feel that this supreme weapon was different from the ones he had seen before. There was an inexplicable aura contained within it. Especially the moment it appeared, even his own Hell Knight could not devour it. One should know that he was the demon ancestor, and he had fought with the giants of the immortal god world. What had he not seen before? However, this was the first time he had seen such a bell. It was difficult for him to figure it out. After Jun Haoyin heard Qiyu's words, a faint smile appeared on his face, but he did not say anything. Everything that had happened just now was indeed extremely dangerous. If the bell had not rung in time, Jun Haoyin would have been in danger. However, it was also because of this bell that Jun Haoyin thought of a way to get out of this situation. It could be considered a foolproof method. There would not be any problems. He walked forward step by step, and every step he took could disperse some of the darkness. He was like a messenger of light walking in the human world. The golden light around his body seemed to be indelible, and it shrouded Jun Haoyin's body just like that. Demon ancestor, you have miscalculated. Although you are extremely powerful, you should know that this era no longer belongs to you. This era no longer belongs to you. As soon as these words came out, Qiyu narrowed his eyes slightly. He had been sealed for countless years and had experienced many changes. Although he was not from this era, he was still an indestructible expert. However, Jun Haoyin said that this era no longer belonged to him. This was obviously saying that this era no longer needed him. However, who was Qiyu? He was an existence that ruled over the world, a figure that even deities feared. Jun Haoyin's words had obviously aroused his boundless killing intent. It's just a supreme weapon and you want to defy the heavens? What a joke. Not to mention a supreme weapon, even a divine weapon can't stop my will. You are really naive. I, the demon ancestor, have not appeared for countless years. It seems that some people have already forgotten my fierce name. Qiyu spoke again, and his figure was no different from a demon. He spat out endless hellish aura, which looked extremely sticky and could corrode everything. Originally, he had some admiration for Jun Haoyin. After all, such an outstanding person was rare. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyin's words had indeed aroused his killing intent. This made him not want to let Jun Haoyin continue to live. It was just a supreme weapon. Qiyu did not care about it at all. More importantly, the effects of the demonic blood that he had condensed had begun to fade. If he did not hurry, there would be a big problem. All his years of hard work would eventually turn into nothing. This was not what he wanted. Therefore, he did not plan to leave anything behind to deal with Jun Haoyin. Then an ancient demonic aura surged out. The hellish aura swept out, forming layers of storms, completely shattering everything. At this moment, Qiyu stood up and slowly walked towards Jun Haoyin. His demonic claws covered the sky and the sun, and had the power to tear apart a world. He wanted to directly destroy Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit, and truly control Jun Haoyin's powerful body. However, Jun Haoyin did not panic in the face of danger. He took a deep breath, slowly sat down, and fully activated the trump card left behind by the human ancestor Shen Yuan. Without holding anything back, he poured all of this power into the immortal bell. The moment Jun Haoyin obtained the immortal bell, he knew that the immortal bell contained that person's spirit, even though it already belonged to him. However, that spirit would not change at all. At this moment, what Jun Haoyin wanted to do was to activate the strongest power within. Then he would summon that person's will. With the strength of the human ancestor Shen Yuan and that person's will, it would be enough to fight against Qiyu. This was his final trump card. If he could not even deal with these two trump cards, then Jun Haoyan was too inexperienced and could only resign himself to fate. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a vast amount of power surged out, powerful and shocking. Qiyu directly recovered his original strength, and wanted to destroy everything about Jun Haoyan. He was really too powerful. Even a true god would not be able to withstand it and would be torn apart. Just at this critical moment the bells rang out. On the immortal bell, a figure stood between heaven and earth. Although it was just a back view, it was enough to shake the world. Chapter 243. When the invincible figure slowly emerged from the immortal bell, the entire world seemed to be suppressed by him. In Qiyu's eyes, the peerless figure was merely standing on the immortal bell, but he was already exuding an invincible and unrivaled aura. In front of him, it was as if the gods of the divine world were nothing. A vast pressure swept out. No matter what, everything was displayed in front of Qiyu. Just like that, the invincible figure stood together with Jun Haoyan. That intense will seemed to break through the ages. Even Qiyu couldn't ignore his existence. At this moment, Jun Haoyan didn't hesitate. He once again activated all the power he possessed, shaking the universe and fusing it with Jun Haoyan's body. The will of the figure and the force of Shen Yuan that was activated by Jun Haoyan emerged at this moment, blocking the endless darkness. Qiyu was shocked to discover that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't penetrate his power. After the figure appeared, he felt that Jun Haoyan's strength had suddenly increased by more than 10 times. Moreover, as long as the power that belonged to him came into contact with the force of Shen Yuan or the figure beside the immortal bell, it would be suppressed in one fell swoop. Even his primordial spirit was suppressed by the forbidden copper and couldn't take another step forward. What is this? This isn't a power that a supreme weapon can emit. Qiyu spoke with slight disbelief, and a trace of terror had even appeared on his face that was like a devil's. Facing this strange and powerful immortal bell, Qiyu actually revealed a look of fear. Under the pressure of the immortal bell, it was really difficult for him to continue because he felt that his power was constantly fading away. What kind of power is this? Tell me. At this moment, Qiyu finally panicked because he knew very well that if he didn't destroy the threat in front of him, his primordial spirit would be in danger. Because whether it was the power left behind by Shen Yuan or the will of the immortal bell, they were all very dangerous to him. Qiyu could already feel that the power in his demonic blood was starting to fade. After all, it was only a drop of demonic blood. The power it could unleash was limited. In addition, there was a time limit. He knew that he couldn't continue like this. Once the power in the demonic blood completely disappeared, his power would quickly disappear and he would be under the control of Jun Haoyan. This wasn't what he hoped for or wanted. Otherwise, there would be a huge problem and he might really be destroyed. After being sealed for so many years, Qiyu's power was no longer as before. It was impossible for him to return to his peak state. Otherwise, although the power left behind by Shen Yuan and the will of the immortal bell would cause trouble to him, it wouldn't be able to destroy him. But now, his primordial spirit, his power. Feeling everything in his body, Qiyu had completely lost the domineering air of the demon alpha. His heart began to panic. Qi Shen Yuan Qi Shen Yuan to Shen Yuan? Of the Qi Zufid me. Sentent. Qiyu couldn't help but roar at the thought of the tragic end he was about to face. He then continued to unleash his power. However, the power of his demonic blood had reached its limit and he couldn't hold on any longer. Initially, this drop of demonic blood was enough to give him the confidence to face Qilong. However, he didn't expect Jun Haoyan to be so difficult to deal with. He had spent so much effort but it didn't have any effect. On the contrary, he was about to be dragged into it. Qiyu was really unwilling. No matter how indignant or resentful you are, this is your fate. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's primordial spirit, under the support of the two powers, slowly turned into a huge sun. Qiyu's primordial spirit, which was emitting a hellish aura, was now like an ant in front of Jun Haoyan. Both of their positions had been reversed. Jun Haoyan had become the one who controlled life and death. Qiyu's power was getting weaker. The black aura around Jun Haoyan had completely disappeared. Only Qiyu's black primordial spirit was left. It couldn't cause any trouble. Moreover, Jun Haoyan had completely suppressed Qiyu. All of this was due to the will of the immortal bell. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fight against Qiyu. After all, Qiyu was a supreme existence. Demonic ancestor Chi-Yu, you will be punished today, Jun Haoyan said. His primordial spirit was like a god that ruled over everything. Even a demonic ancestor like Chi-Yu couldn't resist. The demonic ancestor who had stirred up the winds and clouds in the ancient era looked at Jun Haoyan with fear. Chi-Yu was born strong. It was rare for one to appear even in 5 years. He probably didn't expect to be punished by a young man today. Although he was defeated by the human ancestor Shen Yuan, he didn't die. Even at the moment of defeat, he wasn't afraid. Today, a person who made him feel fear had appeared. Could be said that Chi-Yu was the only one. He didn't want things to end like this. At this moment, Chi-Yu's power was really gone. He was only left with a wisp of primordial spirit. No one in this world can punish me. No one, not even you. Even a divine king can't erase my origin energy. Although you've obtained a powerful strength, you can't kill me. Chi-Yu howled. He was truly too strong, and his source energy was even more terrifying. Even if it was just a strand, this strand of source energy was enough to cause a headache even if a god king appeared. It was impossible for Jun Haoyan to deal with him. Otherwise, Shen Yuan wouldn't have just sealed him in the battle of ancient times. Because even the supreme giants of the immortal god world couldn't do anything to him. If they wanted to erase Chi-Yu, they would have to go through endless years. Gods were immortal and had the same lifespan as heaven and earth, let alone Chi-Yu. This was his strength and also his confidence. As long as his origin energy was still there, he still had hope. Is that so, Chi-Yu? I said I would punish you, but I didn't say I would kill you. In the past, human ancestor Shen Yuan sealed you for endless years and made you suffer. I should inherit this will. At this moment, Jun Haoyan spoke again, looking at Chi-Yu. As soon as he finished speaking, a fragment appeared and separated from Jun Haoyan's body. This fragment was the trump card left behind by Jun Haoyan and Shen Yuan. This fragment contained Shen Yuan's power and was specially prepared for Chi-Yu. Jun Haoyan wanted to use this fragment to seal Chi-Yu again. However, his seal was different from Shen Yuan's. If Chi-Yu wanted to kill him, of course it wouldn't be so easy to seal him. This ancient demon ancestor still had value, and it was also something that he wanted. Jun Haoyan only had one plan, and that was to seal Chi-Yu in his body. One should know that Chi-Yu was the strongest person in that era. When he was born, he had an inexhaustible origin energy. Even though there was only a trace of it left, it was still a unique existence, and it was stronger than any other race. If Jun Haoyan could seal it in his body, he would be able to absorb and purify it in the future, and finally refine it into his own. At that time, Jiang Chen's body wouldn't be as simple as a divine body. It would be even stronger than a divine body. Perhaps for others, absorbing even a trace of Chi-Yu's origin energy would be extremely dangerous, and they would be affected by it. But Jun Haoyan was different. He had the strength of the hell-crushing god Mammoth, and his own reserve powers. Absorbing Chi-Yu's origin energy bit by bit was not a problem at all. Since Chi-Yu wanted to kill him, there was no need for him to be polite. He might as well let Chi-Yu fulfill his wish. Moreover, Jun Haoyan also had Shen Yuan's power. If he combined the two into one, he wouldn't be able to predict how strong he would be. Therefore, under such circumstances, he certainly wouldn't seal Chi-Yu in Mount Tai again. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan didn't hesitate and used the will of the immortal bell to suppress Chi-Yu's Yuan spirit. Not long after, Chi-Yu couldn't resist at all. After losing his strength, he was too weak with only his origin energy left. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was using Chi-Yu's enemy, ancestor Shen Yuan's power to fight against Chi-Yu. Under the two-pronged attack, Chi-Yu could only be suppressed by Jun Haoyan at this moment. At the same time, Jun Haoyan used the power of the fragment to envelop Chi Pan's Yuan spirit. The fragment was left behind by Shen Yuan, and it had the power to restrain Chi-Yu's demonic Chi. Of course, it wouldn't be a problem for Chi-Yu's Yuan spirit. Just like this, Chi-Yu's Yuan spirit was completely sealed in the fragment, and he couldn't resist at all. Arg! I am indestructible. You can't kill me. Chi-Yu roared and wanted to fight back with all his strength. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it at all and could only be manipulated by Jun Haoyan. He really regretted coveting Jun Haoyan's body. If it was someone else, he would have succeeded and left Mount Tai. As the devil ancestor, as long as he entered the territory of the devil race, it wouldn't take long for him to recover a lot of his strength. Although the body would limit him, as long as he had his origin energy, it wouldn't be a problem for him to reach the peak again in the future. Unfortunately, he chose the wrong person. He wanted a better body. Under such circumstances, he couldn't resist at all. After Jun Haoyan heard Chi-Yu's words, he smiled. A faint smile appeared on his face. Don't worry, I won't kill you. At this moment, Jun Haoyan directly threw the fragment that sealed Qiyu into his furnace. This sacred art was called the 100 Scriptures of Furnace Nourishment, so the power of the origin source was naturally not a problem. As long as it was condensed by this furnace, all the energy would be incomparably pure and could be easily absorbed by Jun Haoyan. Did that mean that he could move this heavenly palace away? Therefore, the moment Jun Haoyan threw Qichu's primordial spirit into the furnace began to refine it, dropping down all kinds of divine abilities and invading the fragment. At this moment, Jun Haoyan could clearly feel that although the refinement hadn't begun, the trace of power still made his body, and even his origin, stronger. The devil ancestor Qiyu was indeed extraordinary. Jun Haoyan was pleasantly surprised. If he burned all of Qiyu's origin and primordial spirit, what level would he reach? Therefore he was very much looking forward to it. With the furnace nourishing scriptures, that step would definitely not be far away. You actually want to refine my primordial spirit and my origin? At this moment, Qiyu finally understood why Jun Haoyan did not seal him in Mount Tai again. Instead, he sealed himself in his own body. It turned out that he coveted Qiyu's primordial spirit and origin. He had never thought that such a weak person would dare to do this to a devil ancestor. Arg! You're courting death. Feeling his origin slowly flowing away, Qiyu was enraged. At the same time, his heart was filled with fear. Although his origin couldn't be obliterated, if it was completely refined, even if he survived, he would be a cripple. He would no longer be the devil ancestor that could command heaven and earth, but a mortal that couldn't even be compared to an ant. If he was at his peak, he wouldn't be like this at all because he had too many ways to resist. But now he couldn't do anything. He could only watch as he was refined. This devil ancestor Qiyu felt a trace of despair. However, Jun Haoyan didn't care about what he was thinking. He was constantly restraining his aura. At the same time, the immortal bell in his hand had returned to normal. Without the activation of the Shenyuan power, that person's will had also disappeared. His strength was still too weak. If not for his terrifying primordial spirit, he wouldn't have been able to activate the power of the immortal bell. However, this didn't matter. The power left by the human ancestor, Shenyuan, existed in his primordial spirit. As long as he continued to comprehend it, it would be his fortune. The Shenyuan power could cultivate the primordial spirit, making him so strong that he could even surpass the god realm. And Qiyu's power could help him cultivate his physical body and strengthen his origin. With the support of the two, he wouldn't be able to become an emperor or a god in the future. Communicating with the immortal world gate and passing the tribulation of the immortal Tao. Becoming an immortal god wouldn't be a problem at all. In this state, time passed by slowly. Qiyu was still hissing and cursing Jun Haoyan. Unfortunately, it was useless. Jun Haoyan was adapting to his own strength. His primordial spirit and physical body had reached a certain level. Attaining immortality was only a matter of time. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He had been strengthening himself for the breakthrough of the immortal longevity realm. Just like this, 3 days passed in a flash. When he completely perfected his strength, the main hall without Qiyu's power returned to its original state. Gu Yuehuang, Emperor Xia, and the others had also recovered. However, they didn't wake up and were still lying there. Sensing all of this, Jun Haoyan was also relieved. He slowly got up, and the immortal force continued to spread around his body. This realm was between the primordial spirit Dharma idol and the immortal realm. It took a year to break through. However, Jun Haoyan didn't care about this. Instead, he cared about the heavenly palace in front of him. This was originally built by Shenyuan to suppress Qiyu. Now Qiyu was sealed. Did that mean that he could move this heavenly palace away? Chapter 244. With this thought in mind, Jun Haoyan immediately took action. The heavenly palace in front of him was condensed from millions of stars by human ancestor Shen Yuan's monstrous means. Although Jun Haoyan still did not know the specific uses of this heavenly palace, this did not hinder Jun Haoyan from using it. As long as he used it well, this heavenly palace would be a very powerful weapon. This heavenly palace was personally refined by human ancestor Shen Yuan, and it contained endless power. Every brick and tile in the heavenly palace, even in every small place, contained enormous power and endless power of the stars. Moreover, Jun Haoyan could feel that there should still be remnants of human ancestor Shen Yuan's power in this heavenly palace. As long as Jun Haoyan could use this power, he would have the supreme power to suppress the world. Jun Haoyan could not guess how many stars human ancestor Shen Yuan had used to build this heavenly palace. It was almost impossible to measure how heavy a star was, but every brick and tile here was a star. If Jun Haoyin could refine this heavenly palace directly and completely control it, the power of a supreme artifact would be even greater than that of a supreme artifact. Even a supreme artifact would not be able to match up to the power it displayed, and it would be extremely easy for it to fight those of a higher level. Although he would not be able to unleash its true power, even if he used this heavenly palace as a brick and smashed it, he would probably be able to smash an Emperor Realm existence to death. Jun Haoyin did not dare to imagine how terrifying a heavenly palace refined from millions of stars would be if he smashed it directly. One had to know that this heavenly palace had even suppressed an existence like demon ancestor Qiyu. Jun Haoyin did not believe that it did not have any heaven-defying power. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin could not help but take action. He carefully observed and found that he should be in the main hall of the heavenly palace. How many halls were there in the heavenly palace? There should be at least 8,000 if not 10,000. What made Jun Haoyin feel a little helpless was that the passage from here to the other halls seemed to be blocked by some kind of power. With Jun Haoyin's current strength, it was impossible for him to break through the obstruction of this power. After thinking hard to no avail, Jun Haoyin could only turn his attention to the main hall of the heavenly palace. Even if he could not take the entire heavenly palace, he should at least take the main hall. It would be a good place for him to cultivate in the future. Even if he had no use for it in the future, he could give it to Tao Xian and make it the new Langya temple. It should be noted that the heavenly palace was not even 1/10,000th of the size of the heavenly residence in front of him, compared to the Langya sacred temple and the Linglong sacred ground. So no matter what, Jun Haoyin still wanted to give it a try. He walked towards the center of the hall until he reached the Enyworm corpse coffin bearers. Because the coffin of the heavenly palaces, the heavenly palaces. This coffin was actually one of the methods that forefather Shenyuan had used to seal Qiyu. The 9 Enyads corpse bearers were of such a high standard that they would always be targeted by heaven and earth. Especially this kind of 1,000-legged dragon, it looked incomparably terrifying. It was definitely an ancient variant, incomparably powerful. Moreover, it would not be inferior to a true dragon. Otherwise it would not be used to suppress Qiyu. However, there was nothing special about it now. It was impossible to find a way to control the heavenly palace from it. Without thinking too much, Jun Haoyin once again came to the shattered 9-colored altar. What is this? At this time, Jun Haoyin suddenly noticed that there were some special runes carved on one of the fragments. Jun Haoyin casually picked up a fragment and examined it carefully. Then, he found that these fragments were densely engraved with many lines. They were very ancient and each line looked extremely complicated. If these lines were combined, even Jun Haoyin would not be able to understand them. Jun Haoyin guessed that this was a sacrificial ritual from ancient times and had nothing to do with formations or cultivation. Moreover, the 9-colored altar was also used to suppress the coffin. It had nothing to do with the heavenly palace. Is there really no way to control the heavenly palace? The only way is to go to the other halls? Jun Haoyin pondered as he looked at the many halls around the main hall. They were shrouded in layers of mysterious light. They could be seen but could not be touched. Just like when he ascended the heavenly palace, there was only one path from the beginning to the end. There were no paths to the other halls. But thinking about it, this was not Qiyu's doing. Forefather Shenyuan had already done this when he built the heavenly palace. The altar could not be used, the 9 Enyads corpse bearers could not be used, and the other halls could not be used. Jun Haoyin calmed his mind and looked at Qiyu's primordial spirit that was being refined in the furnace. Demonic ancestor, you have been trapped in the heavenly palace for so long. You should have some understanding of it. Do you know any way to control the heavenly palace? Hearing Jun Haoyin's words, demon ancestor Qiyu didn't answer. He was being refined and felt himself becoming weaker and weaker at every moment. Although this process was very slow, Qiyu was someone who could clearly feel it. At that moment, there was only hatred, resentment, and endless fear in his heart. After hearing Jun Haoyin's words, Qiyu was furious again. Damn it. I am the demonic ancestor. How could you seal me? I will consign you to eternal damnation. Qiyu was really agitated. The person he hated the most in his life was forefather Shenyuan. But now Jun Haoyin had completely replaced him. Shenyuan had sealed him only to destroy him so that he could not be resurrected. But this kid was different. He had actually turned him, the demonic ancestor, into his own source of nourishment. What was this? This was a humiliation to Qiyu, an unforgettable humiliation. After hearing Qiyu's words, Jun Haoyin shook his head slightly. It seemed that the demonic ancestor did not listen to him. Moreover, he did not think that Qiyu knew anything. After all, This was the heavenly palace that was used to suppress him. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin did not bother with Qiyu anymore. He continued to walk towards the palace. This palace was really too old. Although it was emitting a holy aura and seemed to be revealing endless radiance, it still could not hide the vicissitudes of life. It was melodious and majestic. Forefather Shenyuan was the first true leader of the entire human race. He was one of the important figures in the rise of the human race. In the realm of the gods he was a supreme figure. Even the immortals and gods had to kneel down to him. He was a supreme figure. Unless it was an even more ancient existence, Shenyuan was definitely a supreme existence, a figure that led the gods. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's eyes lit up. Shenyuan had a supreme position in the human race. He was truly peerless and powerful. He had a supreme position in the human world. In the end, he rode a dragon and ascended to the heavens. He was also the leader of the gods, a true emperor. The position of the emperor was naturally Dizhua. Controlling the heavenly palace might be related to Dizhua. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin did not hesitate and continued to walk forward. Not long after, he finally arrived at the deepest part of the palace. It was also the center of the main palace, the Lingxiao Palace. Yes, the palace in front of Jun Haoyin was the legendary Lingxiao Palace. Like the southern heavenly gate, this was something that Jun Haoyin was familiar with. It was just that it was slightly different from what he knew. According to the trace of Xuanyuan's memory that he had obtained, this heaven was actually built with the heavenly palace in the realm of the gods as the blueprint. Although it was not as magnificent as the real heavenly palace, it had supreme grandeur and power. However, it could not be considered a replica. It was another heavenly palace built by Xuanyuan's self-proclaimed faction. The Lingxiao Palace was the highest place in the heavenly palace in front of him. Legend had it that Shenyuan had once ruled over the gods and immortals and ruled over the human race. In that era, the realm of the gods was directly connected to the various worlds. The gods could do as they pleased. It was not like now, when even people from other continents had to break through the world barrier to enter the Wuxian continent. The stronger the person, the harder it was to break through. Not to mention, it was extremely difficult to let people descend from the realm of the gods. After that era, no gods had descended to the mortal world. As the highest place in the heavenly palace, Jun Haoyin slowly walked in. The majestic and sacred aura became even stronger. Vast divine light constantly fell and circulated around Jun Haoyin's body. This was a special kind of energy that existed in ancient times. Unfortunately, Jun Haoyin was unable to absorb it now. Otherwise, by relying on this energy, his cultivation would continue to advance and reach a profound realm. However, whether or not he could absorb it after controlling the heavenly palace was another story. At this moment, Jun Haoyin placed the light at the highest point of the palace. It was a dragon throne with 9 supreme true dragons carved on it. Although it was not very big, every part was created in the most perfect way. It was golden in color. Around the dragon throne, there were various auspicious beasts such as a pishio, a white tiger, a vermilion bird, a black tortoise, and so on. They emitted a kind of aura that could suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This dragon throne seemed to be above the heavens, suppressing the eternal world. It was boundless and could shake the heavens. Just one look at him was enough to make people want to worship him and submit to him. It was a true supreme being. Compared to the supreme beings who had proven their Tao, it was even more supreme. It could control the entire world. In front of the dragon throne, there were 99 golden steps. In the middle was a carving of a true dragon that seemed to be about to soar into the sky. All the specifications were the most honorable. Jun Haoyin stood here. He could feel that in that magnificent era when heroes rose together. Human ancestor Shenyuan sat high above the Lingxiao Palace, ruling the gods and ruling the human race. He had an invincible aura that could suppress eternity. Unfortunately, with the passage of time, all the glory had disappeared. All that was left was this empty palace. Age was too great. Emperor Xia sighed. Even such an invincible figure had been wiped out by the passage of time. Immortality, eternity, indestructibility, immortality. These seemed to exist because becoming an immortal was something that could be achieved. However, they did not seem to exist because even Qilong and Shenyuan, who had surpassed the divine king realm, were buried by age. Although Qi was still alive in his current state, he was no different from being dead. Looking at this, Xia Tianzi could not help but sigh. What was the goal of all these living beings over the countless years? At this moment, Emperor Xia felt a sense of loss towards cultivation, because it was a road with no end. However, just as Emperor Xia had this thought, his eyes immediately shot out rays of golden light, and his aura shook again. No matter what the heavens and earth or how time passes, I will be eternal. Jun Haoyin muttered to himself. His eyes, which were originally blank, became firm again. It was a firm determination that could destroy everything. Just now, because of the aura of time in the Lingxiao Palace, he felt lost, as if he had experienced the passage of time. At that moment he thought that cultivation was meaningless because there was no end. Because of the erosion of time, he had almost been destroyed. Fortunately, he quickly reacted and his whole person became firm again. At this moment he was no longer confused. This was equivalent to a mental tribulation, and now Jun Haoyin had overcome it. At this moment he looked at the Supreme Dragon Throne again and stepped forward. Every step he took was accompanied by a loud rumble. It was as if he was a deity who was constantly moving forward. Just like this, Jun Haoyin came to the bottom of the 99 golden steps. Without any hesitation he stepped onto the first golden step. Like a king he was ascending to his own position. Unlike the immortal ascension steps in front of the heavenly palace, the steps in front of the Supreme Dragon Throne did not have any aura or pressure. There was only a feeling, the desolation and loneliness of reaching the peak. It was as if as long as he walked up, he would have to endure endless loneliness. The real Supreme Being was like this. He stood alone at the peak, and as far as the eye could see, there was no one who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Although he was invincible, he was also lonely. However, this was nothing in front of Jun Haoyin, who had just overcome the mental tribulation of time. Whether it was loneliness or loneliness standing at the peak, one had to endure all of this. Unknowingly, Jun Haoyin's aura was slowly changing. This change was unknowingly and even he did not notice it. Just like this, he slowly climbed up the 9 golden steps. Every step had a new feeling, and it was also a journey of spiritual transformation. As Jun Haoyin continued to move forward, everything behind him seemed to be moving further and further away. One step, one world, one step, one heaven. This was what Jun Haoyin was feeling at this moment. However, this was nothing. Now no one could stop Jun Haoyin from reaching the peak. After an hour, Jun Haoyin finally reached the 98th step, and the Supreme Dragon Throne was getting closer and closer to him. He could now see the Dragon Throne clearly and it was right in front of him. Jun Haoyin took a deep breath, calmed down, and stepped onto the 99th golden step. At the same time he did not slow down. Instead he walked step by step towards the Dragon Throne. At this moment, Jun Haoyin sat on the Supreme Dragon Throne, looking down at the 3,000 worlds. Chapter 245. In the Lingxiao Palace, on the Supreme Dragon Throne on the 99 golden steps. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was in the Lingxiao Palace, standing on the 99 golden steps. He was like a powerful emperor overlooking the 3,000 worlds. He was like a peerless existence with unparalleled strength since ancient times. He was filled with a powerful and mysterious aura. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's aura was unparalleled. He sat quietly on the Supreme Dragon Throne, his eyes incomparably calm. Below Jun Haoyin was still the same great hall. It didn't seem very far from him, but in fact in Jun Haoyin's eyes, it was extremely far away. It was as if there was an uncrossable gap between the two. It was like a supreme existence in the world. No matter what he looked at, he looked down on it with a condescending attitude. In fact, it wasn't just Jun Haoyin. No matter who sat on this throne, they would have such thoughts. It was a feeling of looking down on the world and looking down on everything. It was as if one had truly reached the peak and could only look up to it. This is the position of the human ancestor Shen Yuan? So, this is what it feels like to sit on this throne? Jun Haoyin muttered to himself. When he sat on the Supreme Dragon Throne, he actually had the same feelings that Shen Yuan had in the past. Although his cultivation was still far from that of the human ancestor Shen Yuan, his mentality was similar. He could also understand how Shen Yuan felt in the past. When he sat on this throne, there didn't seem to be anything special, but the feeling in his heart was real. Jun Haoyin looked down on the entire great hall. Although he was wearing a plain white robe, the light he emitted couldn't be concealed. If one had the time to look up at Jun Haoyin in the great hall, they would find that he was like a monument that had existed since ancient times. Even though he looked close, he was separated by hundreds of millions of spaces. It was impossible to get close to him. At this moment, Jun Haoyin exuded an unparalleled aura that made people submit and worship him from the bottom of their hearts. In fact, Jun Haoyin knew very well that under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for him to ascend the Dragon Throne so easily. In his heart he knew exactly how special this position was. In the God world there was a heavenly palace like this, the place where the Sovereign Lord had notified the entire God world. Similarly, the human world also had such a place. The heavenly palace was the symbol of Shen Yuan, the ancestor of mankind who suppressed the 3,000 worlds. It represented the supreme status. In fact, under normal circumstances, no matter who it was, even if the gods of the god realm descended, they would not be able to easily sit on the supreme dragon throne. This position was simply too important and had an extraordinary meaning. Stepping into this position meant that he had the qualifications to look down on the 3,000 worlds. However, Jun Haoyan was different. Because of the backup plan left behind by human ancestor Shen Yuan, Jun Haoyan was qualified to do so. In addition, Jun Haoyan relied on his own power to reach the peak of the heaven rank step by step. This point was enough to prove that Jun Haoyan had passed the test. This point could be said to be immeasurable. Although the previous ascension to heaven rank was controlled by Qiyu, it was something that human ancestor Shen Yuan could not leave behind. Its purpose was to test whether there was a peerless talent in the human race. However, Jun Haoyan did it. He relied on his own power to directly step into the peak of the heaven rank. In this way, Jun Haoyan naturally had such a qualification. In addition, he already had the power given to him by Shen Yuan. At this moment, he naturally stood in this place. Jun Haoyan also knew the significance of this, and the moment he sat on it, he clearly understood some things. That was, as long as he refined this supreme dragon throne, he would have the ability to control the entire heavenly palace. In fact, this was the case. Therefore, what he needed to do the most now was to use his own power to infiltrate the dragon throne. At that moment, Jun Haoyan closed his eyes and spread out his power. Boom. It was also at this moment that a vast and unparalleled power shook. Jun Haoyan only felt that his mind had formed a huge world. In the center of this world, there was an endless divine light condensing, forming the shadow of the supreme dragon throne. As long as the essence of the dragon throne was formed in his mind, he would completely control the heavenly palace. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's aura constantly shook out and filled the entire hall. His entire body was like a golden sun, extremely magnificent. The majestic power surged. He used all kinds of magic, constantly infiltrating, breaking down, and reorganizing the supreme dragon throne. At the same time, Qiyu, who was still cursing, also quieted down. He was shocked to find that he was in an unknown world. In front of him was a completely unknown world, and in front of him was Jun Haoyan's tall and straight body. Qiyu didn't know what Jun Haoyan was doing, but because of the previous confrontation he could no longer underestimate Jun Haoyan. At this moment he didn't understand what Jun Haoyan wanted to do. Was it going to endanger his life? After all, this trace of origin energy was his last strength. If it was completely refined, he was afraid that he, the demonic lord, would no longer exist in this world. Just when he was slightly puzzled, he saw a supreme dragon throne being formed in front of Jiangchen. Every detail was being perfected. Who was Qiyu? He was Xuanyuan's old enemy. He knew Shen Yuan better than he knew himself. Especially the supreme dragon throne in front of him. He didn't know how many times he had seen it. So at this moment, Qiyu was a little shocked. This kid wants to control the supreme dragon throne and replace Xuanyuan's position in the 3,000 worlds. At this moment, Qiyu was shocked and somewhat in disbelief. Although he and Qiyu were old enemies, he clearly knew that Shen Yuan was an official and had a high position in the human race. But he never thought that this young man in front of him wanted to control the entire heavenly palace through the supreme dragon throne. This was something that even he, the demonic lord, couldn't do. If he really controls the heavenly palace, then I won't be able to make a name for myself, right? Qiyu murmured to himself. At this moment, he was sealed in the fragment, but he could still feel a trace of coldness rising in his heart. No, I can't let him succeed. Otherwise I'll really be finished. Thinking of this, Qiyu decided to fight back with all his strength. He wanted to use all his strength to stop Jun Haoyan. Demonic lord, you better be honest. Since you've been sealed, then just stay here. Don't get involved in my affairs. Just when he was about to take action, Jun Haoyan's voice came, which made him shocked. Since Qiyu was sealed in Jun Haoyan's body, it could be said that Jun Haoyan was very clear about his every move. Whatever he wanted to do, there was basically no way for him to escape. If you tell me to stop, then I'll stop. Even if Shen Yuan is alive, I won't stop. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Qiyu was a little angry at this moment. He immediately began to use his strength. At this moment, Jun Haoyan turned around with his hands behind his back. Shen Yuan is Shen Yuan and I am me. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was like an emperor in the world. Shen Yuan is Shen Yuan, and I will be stronger than him. This sentence came out of Jun Haoyan's mouth, and it was incomparably domineering. Qiyu looked at the man in front of him with shock, and a huge wave of emotions surged in his heart. This was because at this moment Jun Haoyan seemed to be much more threatening than Shen Yuan in his eyes. Especially at this moment, Jun Haoyan, who was standing in front of the Supreme Dragon Throne, looked like he was looking down on the world and despised the immortal, Buddhist, and Devil Tao. This person is really extraordinary. Seeing this scene, Qi Yu's mind was already filled with many thoughts, and he began to worry about his own safety. Jun Haoyan was too terrifying in front of him. That was a kind of invincible attitude in the universe, and those words did not compare himself to Shen Yuan. This was because Qi Yu could feel that the meaning of Jun Haoyan's words was very simple, and that was that he would surpass Shen Yuan. Especially at this moment, Qi Yu felt that the pressure from the fragments around him was getting stronger and stronger, as if it was going to destroy his origin. In his eyes, Jun Haoyan was really dangerous and could not be provoked casually. Especially now that he was no longer the devil ancestor at his peak. Thinking of this, he did not do anything else and just looked ahead quietly. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's expression did not change much. He quietly turned around and continued to look at the steady light that was constantly surging in front of him. He poured all his power into the Supreme Dragon Throne, wanting to control it all and construct it in his mind, becoming the true master of this heavenly palace. Jun Haoyan understood that if he inherited Xuanyuan's will, he would only become the next Shen Yuan, or even worse than Shen Yuan. Therefore what he wanted to do was to erase all traces of Shen Yuan on the Supreme Dragon Throne. Without any hesitation, he sat down quietly with his legs crossed. At this moment, in the Lingxiao Palace, Jun Haoyan sat upright on the throne, and his entire person turned into an invincible sovereign in the universe, suppressing everything. At the same time, the dragon throne beneath him was emitting an endless radiance. The entire Lingxiao Palace seemed to have recovered its former glory. A supreme aura was rioting in the palace. It was incomparably noble. At this moment, Jun Haoyan could even feel that the divine light that had nothing to do with him was beginning to merge with him on its own. This was the power of the heavenly palace. After refining it, there would be no problem at all and it would belong to him. The dragon throne in front of him was made of an unknown material. As Jun Haoyan refined it, it was accompanied by a series of rumbling sounds. There were even the roars of white tigers, the cries of pearl sparrows and the barks of black tortoises. It seemed that in order to create this dragon throne, Shen Yuan used these auspicious beasts as the cornerstone and gathered them with supreme power. It could be said that it was the supreme dragon throne in reality. Although it might not be that powerful in terms of power, it was tainted with a trace of Xuanyuan's power. The oppressive feeling of an emperor was unparalleled, and even the sovereigns of the past and present could not surpass it. Shen Yuan was the ancestor of the human race, the most supreme existence of all of the human race. Jun Haoyan refined these things with all his strength, erasing all the power, and this dragon throne would completely belong to him. He would also become the true master of this heavenly palace, and become the person who controlled everything. Just like this, as time continued to pass, bursts of intense light rumbled. In Jun Haoyan's mind, the supreme dragon throne also became more and more substantial. Every inch of it was very real, emitting intense light. The sealed Qi Yu stood behind Jun Haoyan, quietly watching the supreme dragon throne continuously appear. Once all the details were perfect, Jun Haoyan would become the master of this heavenly palace. In the future he would even obtain the same status as the ancestor of the human race, the supreme ruler of the entire human race, and the leader of the gods. At this point, Qi Yu was even more worried. With such a person in control of the human race, where would the demon race, which was already on the verge of death, go in the future? Bai Zhang had someone who was more difficult to provoke than Shen Yuan, which made him very worried. He even had a premonition that if Jun Haoyan was allowed to ascend to the realm of the gods in the future, the entire realm of the gods would be swept up in huge waves. Because of that matter, Shen Yuan fell. I don't know if he will repeat the same mistake. Qi Yu muttered to himself. He actually hoped that Jun Haoyan would fall halfway, because he really didn't want the demon race to face such a person. But thinking about it was just his imagination. After refining the supreme dragon throne, it was very difficult for such a person to fall. After that, Qi Yu didn't think too much and took one step at a time. And Jun Haoyan also fell silent at this time. Refining the supreme dragon throne was a very long process, and during this period he couldn't be distracted. After all, it was an existence with extraordinary significance. Once he was distracted, there was a possibility that all his previous efforts would be wasted. It was also at this time that the supreme dragon throne was continuously becoming more and more solid. The carvings of the true dragon, white tiger and other auspicious beasts seemed to come alive, emitting a strong aura. They surrounded Jun Haoyin, set off Jun Haoyin's strength, and also changed Jun Haoyin's aura bit by bit. Originally, it was very difficult to improve one's temperament, because a warrior's temperament was already fixed in the place of cultivation. But under the influence of that supreme aura, Jun Haoyin became even more terrifying, and people didn't dare to look directly at him. In the true sense, he was like an emperor. His temperament didn't belong to any kind. In terms of aura, it was even more majestic than that of a supreme being. With this kind of aura, if his enemy was a human in the future, they would be naturally inferior to him. Because Jun Haoyin had inherited the supreme position of the human race and controlled this heavenly palace, he was the true king of the human race. Just like an emperor in the mortal world, even if he didn't have martial arts, when facing a martial arts master, he would still emit a strong sense of oppression. This was a very good transformation and also a kind of increase in combat strength. In the future, when all of Jun Haoyin's enemies faced him, they would naturally feel a kind of fear. Then this battle. There was almost no suspense. Chapter 246. Today, Jun Haoyin felt like he was the ruler of heaven and earth, and everything around him was under his control. At this moment, he was extremely confident in his heart, as if as long as he stood in the heaven palace, he had monstrous power and everything in the world was under his control. Of course, Jun Haoyin knew very well that all of this was just an illusion, because he clearly found that he still couldn't open the other halls. This didn't mean that he didn't have complete control over the heaven palace. It was because his cultivation was still not enough, and his previous predictions were somewhat wrong. In fact, he could really use this heaven palace as a treasure, and not only could he activate its power, but he could also use it. He could also use the power of the heaven palace to suppress everything and suppress people as long as he had enough strength. Even an emperor realm master could be directly crushed to death because this heaven palace was too heavy and unbearable. Perhaps in the future, when Jun Haoyin became a supreme, he could use this vast heaven palace and Jun Haoyin could suppress gods to death. Of course, this was a matter for the future, not now. In the next moment, Jun Haoyin stood up from the supreme dragon throne. He was now the ruler of this heaven palace, and every move he made had great momentum. With a thought, the entire heaven palace slowly shrank at this time, and then turned into a speck of dust, directly appearing in Jun Haoyin's Qi Si Dantian. Qi Yu, who was still closing his eyes, opened them again at this time, and looked at the scene in front of him, a little surprised. He actually succeeded, and so quickly. Qi Yu was a little flustered, and looking at the heaven palace that was constantly suppressing him, his face changed. In the past countless years, he had been suppressed by this heaven palace for who knows how many years. Although he was still suppressed now, at least he was in a different place. But now, it seemed that when the heaven palace suppressed him again, he would have to face that terrifying scene again. It was a scene that had gone through countless years, and even he was a little afraid of it. If it were someone else, they would have gone crazy long ago. Shaking his head slightly, Qi Yu couldn't resist. Sure enough, at this moment, the fragment that sealed him was also absorbed into the heaven palace. He had returned to the place where he had been before. Although he was no longer suppressed at all times like before, he was still able to do so. However, what made him even more flustered was that his origin source was being continuously devoured by Jun Haoyin. Sooner or later he, the fiend ancestor Qi Yu, would never be able to make a comeback. But now he really had no other choice. He could not resist. He could only restrain his own essence and let Jun Haoyin devour it a little slower. As for Jun Haoyin, how could he not know this person? The fiend ancestor's little scheme did not bother him. It could be said that after this experience, whether it was in terms of temperament or other aspects, he was different from before. Jun Haoyin returned the Sky Palace to his Sea of Qi Dantian and turned his attention back to what was before him. Without the Heavenly Palace, he was already at the peak of Mount Tai. It was extremely spacious and he could even see the rotation of the stars. It was also at this time that the ancient Yue Huang's Emperor Xia, who had been unconscious all this time, woke up. The other martial artists were not as fast because their cultivations were weaker. At this moment they were still in a deep sleep. At this moment the ancient Yue Huang duo looked around blankly, not knowing what had happened. What about the Heavenly Palace? What about Qi Yu? Emperor Xia was very surprised. The moment before he fainted they had almost died. Because at that time, Qi Yu was preparing to suppress everyone. He was a legendary figure. They did not expect to meet him like this. How could they not be afraid? Even as geniuses, they might not be able to bear it because he was a legendary figure in the truest sense of the word. It's like this. Hearing their questions, Jun Haoyin began to explain. He did not mention anything about Shenyuan and Chiyu. He only explained that the ancestor of human beings, Shenyuan, had predicted all of this. Moreover, he had also woken up not long ago. As for the whereabouts of the heavenly palace in Chiyu, he did not know at all. It was not that Jun Haoyan did not trust them, but it was better to hide some things, especially since the heavenly palace now belonged to him. On this point, the fewer people who knew, the better. One had to know that this heavenly palace was created by Shenyuan. Perhaps even the gods would go crazy over it. Jun Haoyan said this not only for himself but also for them. Hearing Jun Haoyan's explanation, Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia nodded slightly. The two of them focused on Jun Haoyan and were slightly surprised. Because at this moment, the aura that Jun Haoyan exuded was too different from before. Jun Haoyan stood at the peak of Mount Tai, wearing a plain robe. It fluttered in the wind, and his aura was extraordinary. His entire body was majestic and his aura was thick and heavy. It was extremely domineering, but it was as if it carried countless lives in the world. He was majestic but not violent. He was generous but not harsh. He was an emperor, and he was the one who taught all living beings. He was the one who taught all living beings and pioneers. He was the supreme existence that represented the world and suppressed the world. Wherever Jun Haoyan was, it was his domain. In that domain he could be called supreme. In the past, Jun Haoyan had killing intent, decisiveness, sharpness. He was like a peerless sword, ready to kill when it was unsheathed. He could make people fear him, make people tremble, and make people feel like they could not bear his sharpness. But now all these sharpness were hidden. What was left was dignity, virtue, supremacy, greatness, bearing, and tolerance. This was the virtue and tolerance of a supreme being. His appearance made everyone, including Guyue Huang, feel a sense of shame. Everyone was humble and insignificant in front of the supreme being of the human race, and they could not help but bow down. This was the instinctive submission that came from the deepest part of the soul of all humans, and even in the 3,000 worlds. This was the power of the human ancestor. Even if it was not revealed, it was terrifying and difficult to ignore. At this moment, the two of them also understood that Jun Haoyan had his own secrets. But if he did not say, they would not ask because everyone had their own secrets. It would be bad if they said it. They understood, so they did not ask too much. Then shouldn't we leave now? Guyue Huang glanced at Mount Tai and found that there was nothing special about it. Jun Haoyan also nodded at this moment. Now that the matter was understood, there was no need to do anything more. On this day the trip to Mount Tai came to an end. But the question of why the true dragon was on Mount Tai still lingered in Jun Haoyan's mind. Jun Haoyan did not find anything about the true dragon being sealed in Xuanyuan's memory. Moreover, the true dragon did not seem to have anything to do with this heavenly palace. Otherwise, Jun Haoyan would have found out long ago. Chiyu must know something, but he was sure that the demon god would never tell him. He wished that Jun Haoyan did not know anything. Therefore these questions could only be left to Jun Haoyan alone. But one thing was certain, and that was that the true dragon had nothing to do with the battle between Chiyu and Shenyuan. However, it was not so easy to find out these things. Jun Haoyan did not think too much about it because it was time to leave Mount Tai. Guyue Huang said that she could not see through the seal that sealed the true dragon. It would be fine if it was just one of the seals. However, it would take a very long time to understand the entire formation, at least according to what Guyue Huang said recently. To be able to set up such a formation, one's attainment in this aspect had definitely surpassed that of a prime. Jun Haoyan could understand this point. After all, the true dragon was an existence that only one would be born in the entire heavenly dragon clan in an era. As long as one became a true dragon and had the title of true dragon, it would be easy for one to become a god in the future. Once one became an immortal, one would undoubtedly become a Xiang-level existence among the gods. The true dragon's bloodline and combat strength were destined to be much stronger than other clans. Now there was no place for them to explore in Mount Tai. Guyue Huang and Jun Haoyan checked a little and left after finding nothing strange. This was the place where Chiyu was sealed. Even without the suppression of the heavenly palace, it was difficult for them to fly in the sky. Mount Tai was a place with great momentum. So, they waited for those cultivators to wake up and leave this place together. When Mount Tai was opened, there were more than 100,000 cultivators who entered Mount Tai. Almost all of them were Yuandan realm and above. They came from different regions. If it was a normal time, they would be powerful figures. Unfortunately, the trip to Mount Tai this time was a complete failure. This was especially true for warriors who had descended from other worlds. That was because none of those people were still alive. The strongest among them had been killed by Jun Haoyan. As for the other cultivators, they were all killed by Chiyu. But Jiang Qin did not care about this at all. Because in his opinion, those people's deaths had nothing to do with him. Just like this, everyone kept moving forward and walked down Mount Tai. Countless cultivators gathered at the foot of Mount Tai. Even though Mount Tai was opened, they still could not sense what was happening inside. The Mount Tai they saw was just a facade in front of the world. The real Mount Tai could not be seen clearly from here. They could only know it after entering the True Dragon Gate. So, no matter what happened inside or how those cultivators came out, they could only wait quietly. Qing Fengzi and the other geniuses from other continents entered and clashed with Hao Tian's holy son. I wonder what's the situation now. Hao Tian's holy son is indeed strong. But Qing Fengzi and the others are not easy to deal with. If they join forces, it's hard to say. Even so, Hao Tian's holy son is still from our martial god continent. I really hope he can win. A cultivator said with a worried expression. It had been a month since Jun Haoyan and the others entered Mount Tai. The cultivators of the martial god continent present were all worried about the safety of Jun Haoyan and the others. What worried them the most were the cultivators from other continents. Every one of them was extraordinarily strong and liked to bully the cultivators of the martial god continent. They were afraid that they would start a massacre inside. At this moment, Dugu Bo and Feng Xiaoyao were also standing to the side. Although they were Imperial Dao realm cultivators and qualified to enter the True Dragon Gate, they had obeyed Hao Tian's orders. However, after entering Mount Tai, he obeyed Jun Haoyan's orders and did not go to those dangerous places. After all, Mount Tai was full of danger. They did not want to be distracted because of them and lose those great fortuitous opportunities. So, there was only one thing they could do now, and that was to wait. I wonder if the Holy Sun can suppress the peerless geniuses from other continents. Bailey Schwanza said slowly with a trace of worry in his voice. They knew nothing about the situation in the depths of Mount Tai. Don't worry about that. The Holy Sun has never been defeated since he started cultivating. It will be the same this time. In their hearts, the Holy Sun was the pride of the heavens and the future holy leader of the Langia sacred ground. After Feng Xiaoyao finished speaking, Dugu Bo also nodded in agreement. His expression was also very determined. In their eyes, Jun Haoyan was an invincible existence who could ignore everything in the world. No matter how strong or troublesome the enemy was, he could suppress them. Moreover, ever since they had followed Jun Haoyan, everything that had happened after that, Jun Haoyan had always been invincible. However, even though they thought so, they could not help but feel a little worried. Unfortunately, they could not enter. They could only worry here. There was no other way. At this moment, a loud noise came from the direction of the real dragon door. The rumble immediately caused everyone's gazes to converge on the True Dragon Gate. Under everyone's gazes, the figure of the true dragon that resided above the door actually slowly raised its head as if it was about to soar into the sky at any moment. Numerous dazzling rays of divine light shot out incessantly. It was so dazzling that some Yuandan realm and Imperial Dao realm cultivators were unable to open their eyes. Right at this moment, another dragon roar resounded, and it resounded in everyone's minds. In the next moment, a large amount of light suddenly surged out from the real dragon door. It went from being dazzling to being extremely gentle. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly walked out from the door with a monstrous aura. Everyone looked over and saw that the figure contained an extremely powerful aura. Merely the moment he stepped out, it caused everyone's hearts to palpitate. It was a heavy, ancient, and supreme aura. Everyone was shocked when they sensed this aura. Vast Heaven's Holy Sun. At this moment, someone was the first to recognize the newcomer. It was the Holy Sun of Vast Heaven, Xia Tianzi. When they saw this scene, the cultivators of Martial God Continent all revealed excited expressions. Vast Heaven's Holy Sun being able to walk out of Mount Tai safely meant that he had completely suppressed the geniuses of the other continents. Only this could explain why Vast Heaven's Holy Sun was able to walk out of Mount Tai unscathed. At the same time, they looked at the real dragon door again. Since Vast Heaven's Holy Sun had come out, what about his opponents? And the other peerless geniuses of Martial God Continent, such as the Jade Lake Holy Daughter and Xia Tianzi, would they be able to walk out of Mount Tai safely? Chapter 247. Everyone present looked behind Jun Haoyan, wanting to see who else was behind him. Now the people present had a better understanding of Haoyan Holy Sun, whose voice had spread far and wide. Powerful. Domineering. This was the image of Haoyan Holy Sun in everyone's hearts. Almost all of his enemies ended up dead and their Tao dissipated. This was especially true for warriors from the Wuxian continent. Haoyin Holy Sun's reputation was earned through killing. Now that Haoyin Holy Sun had walked out alone, it meant that he had won a complete victory inside. As for his opponents, they were probably in trouble. Now, everyone only wanted to know how those peerless geniuses from other continents were doing. Could it be that they were in the same situation as Haoyin Holy Sun's enemies? Were they killed mercilessly by Haoyin Holy Sun? After Jun Haoyin walked out, his expression did not change at all. He did not care about those people's gazes. Behind him, Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia also walked out one after another, causing everyone present to be even more shocked. After this period of time, they had learned that both Emperor Xia and Jade Lake Saintess Guyue Huang were on good terms with Haoyin Holy Sun. Now that the three of them had come out, it meant that Qing Fengzi and the others had completely failed. Otherwise this would not have happened. Then the few surviving warriors also appeared at this time. After sensing the aura outside, they were completely relieved. What happened inside Mount Tai was something they did not want to face in the future. Whether it was the controlled warriors or the appearance of the rumored demon ancestor, they were all frightened. If Mount Tai opened again, they would not dare to enter at all. Jun Haoyin, on the other hand, ignored everyone and left Mount Tai with his men. At the same time, just after Jun Haoyin left, the originally open True Dragon Gate dimmed at this moment. The rays of light were all withdrawn. As the head of the True Dragon slowly disappeared, everyone was shocked to find that the True Dragon Gate had closed. The True Dragon Gate closed, and then it turned into a ray of divine light, completely disappearing. This meant that those who had entered Mount Tai before could not come out at this moment. What about those peerless geniuses from the immeasurable continent, Xiaoxian continent, Phantom continent, and Moke continent? Countless people felt chills all over at this moment. There were hundreds of thousands of people on this trip to Mount Tai, but less than 10 people came out? What happened to those people? Did they encounter an accident or were they all killed by the Supreme Clear Heaven Saint? Countless doubts appeared in everyone's mind. Some people did not know what to say, but they felt their bodies and bodies and bodies. No one knew what had happened to the others. Now, only the Clear Sky Saint's son and the others had returned. If they wanted to know, they had to ask them. But Haoyin Holy Sun had left, everyone to look to the few surviving warriors to be Haoyin. One question after another was raised. Almost all of them were about the peerless geniuses of the other continents, as well as the warriors who had entered. Of course, they were to them all to know what happened to Hato them to them. Those people wanted to leave, but there were too many people, so they could only start to escape. There were ghosts and monsters in Mount Tai. More than 100,000 people died overnight and all kinds of strange things happened. Of course, they did not hide the matter of the heavenly palace at the top of Mount Tai. Especially the strange things that happened when one became a god. In the end, the legendary demon ancestor came out of the coffin. When these things were revealed, it caused a burst of exclamations. No one dared to believe it, but they could not find a reason to refute it, so they could only believe it for the time being. Everyone was sure that there was an immortal fate in Mount Tai, but there was also a peerless demon ancestor. This trip to Mount Tai would definitely spread to the ears of everyone in the martial god continent because of what happened today. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with Jun Haoyin. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had returned to the Langia Sacred Ground and Langia Holy Temple. Guyue Huang, Emperor Xia, and the others had also returned to their places, although they did not gain anything from this trip to Mount Tai. Because of this, they had a new understanding of breaking through to the immortal realm. Jun Haoyin could almost foresee that it would not be long before the two of them could break through to the immortal realm. This was also a good fortune. After all, it was not easy to enter this realm. Some cultivators might be trapped in the Dharma plane for decades, or even hundreds of years, unable to break through to the immortal realm. Some people would stay in this realm until they died of old age. This realm was a real transformation and it was different from other realms. Jun Haoyin chose to return to the Langia Sacred Ground directly because he was confident that he could break through this realm in a short period of time. However, he had to report to the Holy Lord of Langia and the others about what happened on Mount Tai. What Jun Haoyin said was the same as what he said to Guyue Huang and the others, but even so, it still shocked Dao Yen and the various Grand Elders. They did not expect that so many things would happen on Mount Tai. Even the legendary demon ancestor Qiyu had appeared. How terrifying was this? Once Qiyu appeared, he would go to the North Sea. It would be a disaster for the entire Wuxian continent, and even the 3,000 continents would be affected. Fortunately, according to Jun Haoyin, the Heavenly Palace suppressed Qi Long again and did not let him out to cause trouble. Tao Xian and the others breathed a sigh of relief. However, if they knew that Qiyu had been sealed in Jun Haoyin's body, they would be in disbelief. This was because it was really a terrifying thing to seal the demon ancestor Qiyu in one's body. Only a crazy person would do such a thing. However, not only did Jun Haoyan do it, but he also refined Qiyu's origin. Even in Xinyuan Qiu's era, no one would be able to do something like this. After coming back this time, I'm going to go into seclusion to break through to the immortal realm. After explaining the matter of Mount Tai, Jun Haoyan said directly. This sentence made the eyes of Tao Xian and the supreme elders present light up. If Jun Haoyan succeeded in breaking through to the immortal realm, how powerful would he be? Coupled with the supreme artifact's protection, even if the masters of the Emperor realm from various great worlds came in the future, they would have to think twice before dealing with Langia Holy Land. In the previous battle, Jun Haoyan almost single-handedly suppressed the attack of the 5 great forces. Whether it was the holy masters of the various holy lands or the heaven-supporting Berberus of the monster race, they were all killed by Jun Haoyan without any power to fight back. At that time, Jun Haoyan was pushed to the peak of the immortal realm under the great power of the Saraira given by the small Thundersound Temple. He was invincible. Although it was not the highest realm, he had a kind of invincible spirit. He was a true master. In this regard, whether it was Tao Xian or the Supreme Elders, they all admitted that Jun Haoyan, the holy son of Langia, was indeed the most outstanding holy son of their Langia Holy Land. He had truly surpassed the holy son of Langia, Baiming Han, 30,000 years ago. This was something that everyone admitted. The Holy Lord of Langia, Tao Xian, was very pleased with his original decision. In such a short time, Jun Haoyan had not only caught up with all the geniuses of the entire martial god continent, but also suppressed the peerless masters of the older generation. If it were not for the impending disaster of the 5 decay of the heavens, it would not be difficult for the holy son of Jun Haoyan to become the strongest master in the entire world in the future. There would be no problem for him to surpass the Linglong Holy Master. However, under such a great disaster, the immortal realm 5th stage cultivation could only protect himself. As the world barrier and supreme mark continued to weaken, the masters of various great worlds would descend, including Emperor Realm masters. Therefore, for Langia Holy Land, they had to be much stronger to protect the entire Langia Holy Land's orthodoxy. Every great disaster was a kind of great destruction, but at the same time, it was also a great nirvana. If Langia Holy Land could get through it safely, then in the future, they would definitely have enough hope to become the top force of Martial God Continent again. They would truly become the most powerful force in Martial God Continent, even surpassing Kunlun Holy Land, the #1 holy land of the human race. This time, Tao Xian and the others placed all their hopes on Jun Haoyan, the holy son of Langia Holy Land. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had become the hope of Langia Holy Land. This time you are preparing to break through to the immortal realm. Do you need our help? At this moment, Tao Xian stood beside Jun Haoyan and immediately asked. As one of the 7 great holy lands of the human race, Langia Holy Land naturally had its own foundation. Now that Jun Haoyan had reached this level, of course, they had the power to help him break through in one fell swoop. After all, the human race's holy land was not called for nothing. They had originally intended to use all the power of the entire holy land to help Jun Haoyan break through. However, after hearing their words, Jun Haoyan showed a smile on his face, then shook his head. I have been preparing for this step for a long time. I don't need any help. I am confident that I can break through to the immortal realm without any problems. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was very confident, and his eyes were full of determination. Seeing this scene, the various supreme elders nodded their heads. Tao Xian was also very pleased. As long as Jun Haoyan broke through to the immortal realm, he could hand over the position of Holy Lord with peace of mind. In the great calamity of heaven's decay, even he would find it difficult to ensure the safety of Langia Holy Land. Therefore, this heavy burden could only be placed on Jun Haoyan. Since taking over the position of Holy Lord Langia for many years, Tao Xian could finally relax. Ah, that's good. We are looking forward to the moment when you come out of seclusion and break through to the immortal realm. Then Tao Xian laughed wildly. He planned to directly open the Langia Holy Land so that Jun Haoyan could break through in peace. After all, it was the center of Langia Holy Land. Whether it was the heaven and earth essence chi or other aspects, the outside world could not compare. Moreover, breaking through there would not be affected by others, so it would be safer. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan nodded, then cupped his hands slightly, turned into a rainbow light, and directly entered the Langia Holy Land. The Supreme Elders, Holy Lord Langia, and Tao Xian looked at Jun Haoyan's back as he left and took a deep breath. It's only been a while, and this kid is already on the same level as us old men. Yeah, I really didn't expect this. How long has it been since he entered the Holy Land? He has already grown to such a level. What a monster. With him around, Langya Holy Land will have an easier time in the future. No one in the same generation can catch up with him. As long as the Holy Sun exists, the future of Langya Holy Land will be bright. Thinking of Jun Haoyan's current strength, the Supreme Elders were very emotional. If such a genius appeared in other holy lands, they would definitely be disappointed. Now Jun Haoyan was the Holy Sun of their holy land. They only had endless joy and comfort. Dao Yen, on the other hand, didn't say anything. He just stood there quietly with his hands behind his back. At this moment he was extremely relaxed. As long as he waited for Jun Haoyan to break through to the immortal realm, he could completely remove the burden on his shoulders. Inform everyone that the Holy Sun is in seclusion to comprehend the immortal realm. All disciples are not to spread the news. In addition, during this period everyone, including the hall masters and elders, is to stay in the Holy Land. No one is to go out. Everyone in Langya Holy Land is to wait for the Holy Sun to come out of seclusion. If anyone violates this order, kill them on the spot, no matter who it is. At this moment Tao Xin finally spoke. His eyes were filled with extremely sharp killing intent. At this moment he had finally regained his original majesty. As the Lord of a holy land he was decisive in killing. He was the Holy Lord. When this order was passed down, no one could violate it. No one dared to do so. The Supreme Elders present nodded at this moment. The Holy Sun, Jun Haoyan, was in seclusion to break through to the immortal realm. Naturally, this was a matter of great importance. This was also a matter that everyone in Langya Holy Land had to pay attention to. Moreover, they could not spread the news and let others covet it. Otherwise, if someone wanted to take action, all their efforts would be in vain. Another point was that when Jun Haoyan came out of seclusion, Tao Xin would completely hand over the position of Holy Lord to Jun Haoyan. Of course, this required everyone in Langya Holy Land to be present. Tao Xin had already calculated everything. Now all they had to do was wait for Jun Haoyan to come out of seclusion. At that time, the world would be informed of the birth of the new Holy Lord of Langya. As for whether Jun Haoyan would fail, the entire Langya Holy Land probably did not think that Jun Haoyan would fail. After all, the Holy Sun had never disappointed them since his debut. Just like this, the Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xin's order was passed down. The Langya Holy Land once again entered a state of emergency. Every disciple heard the news that the Holy Sun was in seclusion. Naturally, they were very excited. The stronger the Holy Sun was, the greater the glory of the Holy Land. The glory of the Holy Land was also the glory of each of them. On this point, they were very much looking forward to Jun Haoyan's breakthrough. Under such circumstances, no one knew what was happening in Langya Holy Land. Of course, those who knew Jun Haoyan would know that the Holy Sun was about to break through. At this moment, in Langya Holy Land, Jun Haoyan was sitting cross-legged in the void with his eyes closed. Layers of immortal chi flowed endlessly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.